Welcome back to the podcast, folks. In a second, we'll crack on with the episode with Biker Maja. However, firstly, I'm going to do the sponsor readouts. Going to go back to my roots, get all the sponsor readouts done right at the start rather than do them throughout the whole chat. Let me know what you think. I have to do sponsor readouts. It's part and parcel of the podcast, folk. It helps pay the bills. So would you rather I just get them over and done with at the start, or do you prefer them to be sort of spread out throughout the whole chat? Let me know in the comments. But anyway, firstly, a massive shout out to the Influencer Store. Now, I've got some blurb for them. The Influencer Store helps you build your brand, big or small, providing you with a solution and apparel. We help you to increase your fan base while supporting you with starting your own influencer clothing line with nothing more than just an idea or design, and there are no hidden costs. For more info, come check us out at theinfluencerstore.co.uk or drop us an email at online@influencerstore.co.uk for more information. Now, as I always say, Influencer Store handle all my merch over at TeapotOne.com. So if you've bought any of the merch, you're happy with that sort of quality, and you're thinking of getting your own sort of brand up and running with some merch, drop Charlotte and Roger a line at the Influencer Store. We are also sponsored by, as always, Ultimate Add-ons. Now, Ultimate Add-ons provide mobile phone and action camera mounting solutions and rugged cases for the phones. You buy whatever case, sort of tough case you want from their selection for your specific phone, and then you have a look at the mounting options that are available. You buy them, and the cases and the mounting solutions, they're all interchangeable. So, you can have a selection of different mounting solutions if you want for the case for your phone, and you can just whack them on nice and easy. I always use the Helix strap mount. That's not in the motorbike section. That is in the pedal cycle section. It's basically just like a ratchet strap. Obviously, I'm lucky in that I get a variety of different bikes to test and review. And I can generally always find somewhere to attach this to. I've had no vibration issues with my phone's camera using the Helix strap mount. So that's the one I always advocate. That's the one I always go with. The cases themselves, they're dust-proof, they're vibration-proof, they're drop-proof. You can still use your phone even whilst it's in there. You can talk on it, you can use the camera. Obviously, you've got to keep the windows and everything clear, but great bits of kit. If you head to Ultimate Add-ons, that's Ultimate with ADDONS at the end, ultimateaddons.com. If you use the code TeapotOne with the number 10, TeapotOne10, you'll get 10% off of their entire range. So a massive thanks to them for their support. And the podcast is also sponsored by Innov. Now, Innov specialise in motorcycle dashcam systems. They have the single C5 system, the new H5, which is their new helmet camera. I'm just running some tests on that at the moment, actually, ready for a full review coming your way in the next probably month. They also do dual camera systems, the K3, which is a 1080 system, and their flagship K5, 4K at the front, 1080 at the rear. That's the one I have running on my GS as we speak. Both the K3 and K5 have an external mic, so it's like a lav mic, which you can put anywhere on the bike, or sometimes for me, when I'm on the track, I'll put that mic up inside my lid, and then I can still vlog, and I'll use the cameras mounted on the bike, because I can't get away with a helmet camera on track in the UK. They don't allow that anymore. They've also got external remotes on the K3 and the K5, so you can manually sort of lock footage as you go. You can take pictures as well as you go. Both K3 and K5 have full GPS overlay on them, so if you use aftermarket software, something like Dashcam Viewer, you can actually get that GPS information from the footage and overlay it if you like. I've done that on the Isle of Man Mountain Lap series. That's how I got the map overlay with the little dot moving. Use that on there. Great systems, folks. It's one of these things you fit, you forget, you never need until you need it. So if you are involved in an incident, people have gone to court and the other party is blaming everything entirely on them. And because you're a motorcycle, if it's motorcycle versus car, it will generally go 50-50. However, because they had the CCTV footage off of the bike, it's gone entirely in the biker's favour. Well worth doing, folks. Total peace of mind. If you head to my link down below, you can go to innov.co.uk if you like. However, if you use my link, it lets Innov know you've come from me, lets them know that the sponsorship is worth it. Obviously, if they don't get the traffic, I won't get sponsored again. So please use the link if you can. And if you use the code TEAPOT, TEAPOT, you'll get 5% off of any of the Innov or Techologic cameras. So if you go to the Techologic website, they do a lot of helmet dash cam systems. I've done a couple of reviews on them as well. Again, check out the show notes. The links for Innov, the links for Techologic, they're all down there. So make sure you give them a click and use that code TEAPOT for 5% off. Massive thank you to Innov and Techologic for their support. Lastly, I just want to give a massive thanks, as always, to all of you over in the clan who've gone that extra mile in helping support the channel. Folks, if it's something that you fancy, if it's something you've never heard of, head to patreon.com, patreon.com/TeapotOne. Have a look there and see if any of the tiers take your fancy. But it really does help me out on the channel massively. And I literally could not do this full time without the support of all of you over there in the clan on Patreon. So a huge thanks to you. And everyone out there who's not in the clan, well, thank you for all your support, listening to the podcast, watching the vids, giving me a like, giving me a follow. Tell all your mates. Just share. Let people know about the Brewtime podcast. It is a massive, massive help. All right, that's me done and dusted. Let's crack on with a chat with Maja. Enjoy. Hi, I'm Maja.
Oh, hi.
How you doing? You all right?
I'm all right, thank you. Yes, I was just plugging in thinking, oh, typical, isn't it? Zoom updating, installing update. Anyway, we're here. I'm on time. That's good.
Excellent. I hope my connection's all right. I've been uploading videos all day, and one of them's taken a lot longer than usual, so it's still uploading, just in case my signal's a bit iffy.
I'm sure we'll reconnect if need be. I'm in my new office, so it's first time that I'm testing the strength of the Wi-Fi here as well. So
brilliant. Looks good.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. 4 months now from the stupid idea of should we just build our own office, because you either get what's dished out different sizes, but they all look the same. But what I wanted wasn't available, and it would have cost, several £1 million, which I don't have. So we're like, how hard can it be?
Yeah, exactly. I know. Yeah, I've just got the little broom cupboard here. It's like one of the side little rooms that we have here. But yeah, it does the job. It's all right.
You don't need much, do you? But I've recently moved, so going from a 3-bedroom house that I had to myself, I was quite spoiled, to a much smaller house, and then children visiting, and I'm like, there's no Maja space. I need my own office.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it, when you're used to living by yourself, and all of a sudden you sort of go the polar opposite. It's hard trying to adjust to all that.
Yeah, it's quite the challenge, actually. And I think as you get older, it becomes even more difficult. So.
Yeah, you get set in your ways, don't you? For sure.
Yeah. But it's all good. And I'm just delighted to have this space, which it's 90% finished. So, not too far. It was just the decorating and that kind of bits and pieces. So
brilliant. So that's going to be the nerve center for Maja's Motorcycle Adventures.
Well, this is temporary because my big plan is to actually find like an old farm with a bit of land and create a bit of a community place.
Wow.
But, for now, this is where I am.
Wow. Well, we'll get into that in the chat then. I mean, do you want to have a chat? Obviously, I've started recording, so we can have had this started right from the start if you want. But if you want us to have a little chat before we get going, I'm happy to do that, whatever you want. Just want to get going with the chat?
I don't mind whatever you normally do. What I'm most desperate is to fill this.
That was my next thing. You're a woman after my own heart. Excellent. Right. Charge your glass.
I thought I better wait. Yeah, so it'd be rude if I come here with half empty glass. So,
Look at the size of that glass.
Now then, I like big wine glasses, but I don't like them too full of wine, so I might refuel it a few times. Cheers.
Well, cheers. Slange.
Na zdravie.
I was just a way to say, how do you say cheers in Slovenian? Is it Slovenian, Yugoslavian?
Slovenian.
Slovenian.
Yeah.
How do you say it?
Na zdravie.
Na zdravie.
Same as Russian.
Yeah,
and
it
a
is.
lot of other countries there. Yeah.
Gotcha. Right. Well, I suppose that leads us straight in to the podcast. Folks, here is Biker Maja, and this is episode, I think, 94. I think we're on. We're nearly at the 100. Nearly.
Wow. That's
so,
good
Maja, can I throw the floor open to you to begin with? Just a little introduction as to who you are, how you got to where you are, and then we'll go from there. How about that?
Okay, I'll try and shorten it, or I might talk about it for hours. I'm originally from Slovenia, brought up in Slovenia while it was still Yugoslavia. Mm-hmm. After that all fell apart, I was, what do you call it? Itchy feet, travelled a bit, mostly around Europe, and settled in the UK. Got married, had a baby then, and he's now 23 years old boy living literally on the other side of the world in Sydney.
Wow.
And motorcycling came into my life 6 years ago properly, and it's been the best thing I've ever done for myself. And on the back of that, slightly controversial, but the lockdowns have been the best things that have happened to me as well.
Really?
Because my life completely flipped from normal. I can't say normal because I take offense if somebody calls me that. From the, making your name in whatever business I was running and doing family things, and then we were all forced into time for yourself and think about where you are, where you're going, what you're doing with your life. And I kind of started that journey a few years beforehand. So it just kind of made me really reevaluate everything and decide that what I was doing up to that doesn't serve me anymore. And so I've changed everything.
What? So what were you, can you say what you were doing before or not?
Of course. Yeah. I had two businesses. One was building exhibition stands for trade shows. Mm-hmm. And obviously with lockdown, all events have stopped. And then I had a small business of virtual assistants. So we supported small businesses that had too much work for themselves, but not enough to employ somebody full time. Yeah. Again, their work stopped, so we had nothing to do. Mm-hmm. And I'm not the kind of person to sit still and rely on support, or however, to get by. So I had to be scratching my head and going, what else am I going to do? And sort of the biking world just said hello, and I answered. Is
that when the tours all started then? Is that when you thought, right, I can make a go of this?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And it was very gradual. It wasn't a conscious decision. This is what I'm going to do for a living. It was very gradual, and it got me to where I am now. And we're just continuing on that path for as long as I can ride, probably, because I am a different person. I am much happier. And do you know Japanese theory or the word ikigai?
No, I've not heard of that.
Basically, the Japanese live a long, long time, and they never really retire because they kind of, what they do, they love so much, they don't treat it as work. It's just something they do. It's part of their life. Yeah. And so that's when you find your ikigai. And it feels as if I've landed just there. It doesn't feel like work. People say, do you take time off? From what? Yeah. So it's you're in the flow constantly. Whatever you're doing is just feeding into your happiness, your soul, I guess, without being too spiritual. I never feel, that was a hard day's work. Sure, physically exhausting, or you're managing people. It can be tricky sometimes. You sit on the bike and everything just flows away from over your helmet and down, and you leave it there and you move away from it. I love it. You don't
need to worry about like day-to-day like life troubles, do you, when you're out on a bike, because you're concentrated on the ride and everything else that's going with it.
Yeah, it's a cliche, isn't it, to say you feel free on the motorbike, but I haven't found another way to describe that sense of completeness, maybe. You're like I said, you're focusing 100% because your life depends on it. So even small mistake, you might not be so lucky, and nothing else there's no room for anything else in your brain. Focusing, riding, enjoying.
Oh, are you still there? You froze. Hi, are you there?
I'm still here.
I'm so sorry about that. Apologies. Okay. God, you were mid-flow and my internet just dropped. It's never done that in the podcast before. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I have no idea where to stop or what I was saying. So
you were talking about that feeling of being free on the motorbike and how like nothing else is giving you that feeling or sensation.
Yeah, and I think unless you ride and you love it so much, you won't understand it, right?
Yeah, it's true. I think. I mean, obviously, other people get that sensation, don't they, from whatever it is that makes them tick. But I think for us bikers, obviously, biking is what does that for sure.
Yeah.
Right. So, in that little introduction that you did, you skirted through so much because I've been on your website and read a little bit about you. And don't take this the wrong way, but you've been about a bit. So your sort of love of travel came from, was that as a teenager when you started hitchhiking?
Yes, it's always been there. I remember when I was in high school, my friends would say to me, you look like a tourist in your own country. It's like you don't belong here. You just want to go away. You just want to do things.
Yeah.
They were quite happy, going. I mean, like we were brought up in Yugoslavia, which was still communism when I was born. And then in 91, Slovenia got independent. And, we started before that. We were traveling and I was lucky because my parents had a holiday home in Croatia. So for me and my friends, we would go, this weekend is empty. Let's go and stay at my parents' house. So school, you'd bring your backpack with you, you'd finish your school or not turn out, depends on the mood, and literally go to the side of the road and stick your thumb out, hitch a lift, and spend a weekend partying in Croatia and then hitch back on a Sunday night.
So you'd hitchhike from Slovenia, from Ljubljana? Is it Ljubljana?
From Ljubljana, to Croatia. And that was a regular occurrence. And it was just absolutely fine. Nobody thought anything of it. It's just how we did things at the time, I guess.
Yeah.
If you wanted to. And there's never once, there was a couple of occasions that were a little bit hairy, I guess, but nothing ever happened. So I guess it was a good experience at the end. Yeah. And
it's life lessons, I suppose, isn't it, for you as you grow up in your teens? I suppose it's a way of just learning about life. Kind of dangerous way, I suppose, with today's mindset, isn't it? You imagine 20 years down the line, can you imagine any parents allowing their kids to go and do stuff like that? But you did back in the day, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, there were different times. If my son said to me, I'm going to hitchhike, we lived in Wrexham, if he said, I'm going to hitchhike home, we're like, no, you're not. I'm picking you up, I don't care what time it is.
So is that right? You also hitchhiked. You hitchhiked up to Norway as well, wasn't it? Was it Norway you went to?
It was sort of, it was Scandinavia. Mm-hmm. So the schooling system there, we finished primary school around 13, 14 years old, and then he went to high school for 4 years.
Okay.
And at that point, I always had a job on the side because I was always saving for the holiday. And every summer when we had, the big break, I would have, and I still in my mind so clearly, the goal was 1,000 Deutschmarks, because even though Slovenia, Yugoslavia had their own currency, it wasn't worth anything, and everything was matched against the Deutschmark.
Okay.
So if I didn't quite make it, then grandma and parents would sort of add to that pot. So I would have 1,000 Deutschmarks every summer to go and do something with it. And the hitchhiking, I was talking to a friend of mine. We were planning it, and I can tell the truth now. I think it's probably we're old enough now. Her parents said, you can go and do Interrail, go on a train. We were like, don't really want to go on a train. We're going to hitchhike. So went round her parents' house, told them we're going to get the train tickets and plan the journey. Then we went over to my mum and said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to Interrailing. And she's sitting there. There's my mother with a glass of wine and a cigarette. She goes, why don't you just hitchhike and save yourself some money? Well, we kind of are, but we can't tell her parents.
Yeah.
So I don't know if she ever told her parents, or I'm sure she has done, but that's what we did. Basically, we just packed up backpacks and stood on the side of the road, and we were so incredibly lucky. So the goal was Scandinavia, but nothing in particular. We had an old-fashioned paper map, and every day at the end of the day, we were drawn where we've been. So then at the end, we had a whole route on a map, which is cool. We picked up a lift of two guys. They was like, "Where are you girls going?" And we thought of, what's reasonable? Austria, Klagenfurt, or somewhere there. And they were, "Yeah, that's fine. We're going to Kessel in Germany, which is like halfway to Copenhagen, which was our first destination."
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't mind if we go all the way there, do you? So we got one lift across half of the Europe.
Wow.
Camped there. Next morning, didn't really find a spot to hitchhike. Yes, I just turned around for a bit of a giggle. I went, "Oh, somebody might stop." And this white Volvo with three Italian men in it, like, "Where are you girls going?" I'm like, "Well, north." And they were, "We're going to Copenhagen." Bingo.
Brilliant. It's
And
easy, this hitchhiking lark, isn't it? Nothing to it.
It was great. And then the rest of it was sort of, we went over to Stockholm. We got an overnight ferry to Helsinki, which was just party central, and the same back. And then we went over to Oslo and Bergen, and then back down. We kind of were running out of time, so we had to get home.
Wow.
But, I mean, what were we, 18 years old, I guess? You didn't think of anything that could potentially go wrong. It was just, that's what we want to do. That's how we're doing it. Let's go. It was beautiful. It was brilliant. Yeah.
And when you're 18, you feel like you're an adult, don't you? You feel like you're invincible at 18. And yet now when I look at 18-year-olds, I think you're a kid. You're still a child. It's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
So after hitchhiking, is it right you got into cycling? Did you cycle to Barcelona or something like that? Is that right?
I did. Yeah.
How did this happen? Just another whim, another idea?
Basically, again, summertime coming. I was dating a boy at the time, and we were both sort of starting cycling a bit. And so where could we go? How much money do we need? And I don't know. We came with the plan that we should just head west on our push bikes. And no, we actually we were going to go to Lisbon. And we started and did a few weekend trips around Slovenia and just like slept under the barns, where they dry hay out on the open, just to do some practicing. And then we set off thinking, how far we get, we'll find out. Put all our money on my mum's credit card. So, this is before the times of prepaid cards or anything like that. Had a few travels checks. And we thought, well, if we can have a credit card to pay our way through, it's probably safest. So we give my mum the money so that she could pay her bill when it comes in. And off we went. And we didn't know that, but there was a limit of how many times in a month you can take cash out of the cash point.
Oh, right.
And then we got to Barcelona and they blocked the card.
What did you do there then?
Well, I went to the bank and the bank said, well, we sent a fax to your bank, and when that fax comes back, they can authorize, and it was 10,000 pesetas, and then we will give you the money. So we did that once, and I didn't think ahead. Well, like 10,000 was nothing. Maybe a few days, and then we had to go to the bank again because we had to wait till the end of the month to reset the card. And I'll never forget it. We were in this bank, and it was getting to 2:00 on a Friday, and of course they shut shop down there till Monday morning, and we had not a peseta on us, like nothing for the weekend. And the youth hostel was chasing us for the last 2 nights because we haven't paid. So we managed to get, and the bank, a man comes, he said, "Sorry, no money, see you Monday." So I just started crying. First, the only time I used tears as a weapon, I thought, no, we can't have it. So this poor bank employee started putting her hand in her pockets, and they put
their
money
own money.
Yeah. My boyfriend looked and he goes, "It's 7,000 pesetas there." And I went, we need 10. So I cried more. And they did. They put 10,000 on account, and we took that.
Wow.
At the weekend, and came back on a Monday. The fax has arrived by then, so they said, "Well, here's your 10,000," but obviously we had to pay them back.
Yeah.
So at that point, we thought, "This is ridiculous. We'll just get a plane and go home. We had enough." Never made it to Lisbon. Still to this day. But yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's quite an achievement, though, to cycle from Slovenia to Barcelona.
Yes.
It's not exactly flat, that part of the world either, to get there, is it?
No, especially cycling over the Pyrenees in storm. I mean, it was spectacular because the lightning and the clouds and the sea and everything was just wonderful. And all I was telling myself, keep going, because I knew I couldn't stop on that uphill. I had to get to the top. But
wow.
That was quite I mean, I was obviously a lot fitter then.
Do you still cycle now?
Not really. I mean, I do go for small rides out, but nothing serious now.
Yeah. I used to cycle in my youth, and then I've got this, I don't know where it came from. I've got this crazy thing in my head about cycling around the UK, but like, I've got no idea. I don't want to do any training. I just want to get on the bike and go. But then it's like, well, it's going to take me months. And then what do I do? What do you do about like work? You know, obviously I can work anywhere, but I need to be, editing takes quite a while, doesn't it? When you're editing vids, it takes a long time. So I'm like, well, where am I going to edit? And I need internet plus I'll be away for like, I don't know how long it'll take, 3 months, I don't know. But I'll be away for that length of time. And it's like, can't just leave my wife to look after the house and the dogs and, you know. But I've got it in my head that I want to do it. So
that would be a really cool challenge, actually.
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know if I could keep. I don't know if like my community that follow my videos, I don't know if they'd be that interested in a fat bloke cycling around the UK or not. I don't, because there's no motorbikes involved, is there? I don't know. I don't know if the channel would be able to sustain that length of time, me being away and just producing content around me sweating on a push bike. I don't know.
That's a fair point. Yeah, you probably, you're catering for a very exclusive audience, and then you sort of divert from that. It would be interesting, I suppose. I found that actually there's quite a bit crossover between cyclists and motorcyclists, because I guess there's the appeal of the two wheels and feeling of the animal elements. But I mean, I like going cycling, but I wouldn't swap it. And I'm certainly not following cyclists. And I'm not into, I have friends who are spending thousands of pounds on their push bikes. And in fact, my son is starting to get down that route. So, that's great. But £6,000 for a push bike, well, you can get a motorcycle. I mean, there's just like no comparison. I don't get it, so it's not for me.
My brother's like that. My brother's right into his push bikes, and he's spent obscene amount of money on bikes, and now he's getting one of these e-bikes, the battery operated things, and they're ridiculous, the price of them. I'm like, why just get a motorbike? It's got an engine in it, and just enjoy it. But no, he's not up for it.
Although I'm thinking about getting an electric push bike, just because where I live there's so many hills. It would just mean I can go for longer. But I'm only thinking about it. I haven't done anything yet.
If you're anything like me, if you're thinking about it, it's happening. It is happening. Okay, so am I right in also saying you've pretty much travelled around the world, not by bike, but you have done a lot of travel around the world as well? Is that right?
We did sort of a quick round the world trip with my now ex-husband. Obviously, we were married at the time, and our son, who was coming up to 3 years old. So it was at that point in our lives, we'd moved from down south to North Wales. We had a nice house and we had the money spare. And we thought, well, before he goes to school, when we have to be then tied into school holidays, why don't we just do something different?
Yeah.
And we well, we were going to rent a house out, but it turns out his parents sold their house, so they moved into ours while we were away, and they were looking after it. So that was great.
Happy days.
And they moved out before we got back, so everything worked out timing wise perfectly.
Yep.
And we kind of went. It was a different kind of travel when you have a child of that age, I guess. You don't go to youth hostel. You're not camping. We were staying in hotels, so it was not as authentic an experience as you will get on a motorbike or when you're on your own or, you know, a couple. But you have different priorities, of course.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I didn't want my boy to be, you know, vaccinated against all sorts of things. Like, I would do it for me if I want to go and travel to Africa, stab me with whatever, fine. If I want to go there, but, you know, otherwise, that's different. But I thought I didn't think it would be fair to do that to a 2-year-old. So we chose countries where that wasn't a requirement and we could, you know, travel freely. We went to LA first because we had to go via US for the round the world ticket.
Okay. Oh yeah, you did. You did that then, did you? So you have a set amount of time, and is it set amount of countries or something that you have to do? Is that right?
I can't remember exactly. There was a condition that you had to, you know, because of the pricing and the whole ticket travel around the world ticket, you had to stop in the US at some point. So we just went straight to LA, stayed there a couple of nights to acclimatize, and then went to Fiji. And that was the best bit of the travel because of the cultural difference, the lifestyle. Now, I mean, I have to explain, you know, I grew up in a very white country. I've only ever seen a person of any color on TV. And back then it was only American TV. So when I first came to London, I was just gobsmacked because all the different people, it was just, you know, incredible experience for me. So imagine then coming to Fiji with, from their perspective, obviously I was used to the cultures by then, but we got to Fiji. We stayed in a resort for a night just to get our bearings, and then we hired a 4x4 and went into the mountains. And these are people that live in little villages, in communes. They don't have power, they still wash in the river, and they've never seen a white child. And so we was, you know, my Sam, pale white, bright blue eyes, white hair, and he stuck out like a sore thumb amongst the children, but it was just the most amazing experience, I think, from both perspectives. You know, they took us in, they invited us to their village for a couple of nights. We were allowed to share like a hut, because normally have women and men separate unless they were married. And, you know, I sort of remember I turned around and there was Sam with a machete playing. And all the other boys were the same age. That's just what they did. We think how different the world is. They did a makeshift raft on the river and just climbed on and went. And there's, you know, the local boys just in nothing, and there's Sam with a box of shorts or swim shorts, you know, like a little Hawaiian guy.
Factor 50 on,
Couldn't swim, so he had armbands on. It was so bizarre.
Does he remember it? Has he got any recollection of that trip?
He says he does, but he said he's not sure whether I had the memories from the stories we told him, from seeing the photos, or actual memories. But there are things that he does remember. And then after that, we went to New Zealand and Australia, and we came back via Hong Kong. So it wasn't a proper round-the-world trip that, you know, you'd think, as in, I've gone around the world, you've seen all these beautiful countries. We've seen a few. We've stayed for quite a long time in all of them. We didn't move too much. So I guess in a way, you felt like you lived there for a while. You know, we had an apartment in Sydney for a while. We bought a car in New Zealand because it was cheaper than renting it, and then sold it on to some Americans for $150 more. So it was great. So you become more in part of the country when you're staying in the same place for a bit longer. Rushing through them.
So do you think, is there more like adventure style travel on the horizon for you, do you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Where do you want to go then?
There's no stopping me now.
Brilliant.
I'd love to do. I'd love to ride in Canada and South America. Those are the two top countries.
Yeah.
Although saying that, in a short time, if my son continues to live in Sydney, then I want to go back and do more exploring there. All I've done on a bike there was Tasmania, and nothing else. So it's such a vast country to explore.
Yeah.
And continuing with tours, in fact, I'd quite like to go there for 3 months of the year and do tours in Tasmania or Australia. So the winter months here, like miserable January, February, I'll be off in Australia.
That's a great idea. Tassie's supposed to be, I know quite a few Aussie bikers, and they all say Tasmania is some of the best riding in Australia.
Yeah, they treat it a bit like we do Scotland or Wales, for example.
Right.
Well, I suppose for me, Scotland, I'll go every year for a week. The Australians, they will go to Tasmania, and it's very British in a way that it's I suppose a bit like Wales on steroids, I would say. You have beautiful scenery, massive. The roads are absolutely perfect. I mean, literally as if they just laid it for me. It was beautiful. The only catch there is they kind of finish and then there's gravel.
Yeah. No real curbs. It's just good luck.
Yeah, but the roads are beautiful. I mean, there's a road from West Coast to the middle of Tasmania called 99 Bends. Well, that gives you a clue about what to expect. It's pretty spectacular.
Wow, sounds awesome. Yeah, have you done New Zealand? You ever been to New Zealand?
I have been to New Zealand, but not on a bike.
Right.
So that, I would love to do. I mean, New Zealand in a car was pretty cool because they're empty roads and they're wide. And again, really nicely looked after. But on a bike, it must be something different.
Yeah, I'd love to go. I've got family in New Zealand, and I meant to visit them on my trip. I didn't get the opportunity to go. So I would definitely love to go there. I've heard the riding's phenomenal. Yeah.
Which island are they? North or south?
They're in the north. They're near Hawke's Bay, I believe. Yeah, I think they're fairly close to Hawke's Bay. So I'd love to get over there at some point. At some point, I will. At some point. Comes down to money, doesn't it? At the end of the day, as with everything in life, comes down to if you can finance it, go for sure.
It's money and time, isn't it? It's once you're, I suppose. My big idea of spending 3 months of the year in Australia is great if I was single, but like you said, leaving your wife for 3 months, maybe not so.
Might not go down too well.
Yeah, unless it comes with me, then that's different. But it becomes a bit more challenging than when I was younger and just did that and didn't care. Nobody missed me.
Yeah, life gets in the way, doesn't it? Oh well. Right. Well, there's loads more that we can chat about, but how about we crack on with questions and then just see where that takes us in a conversation, because it always opens all manner of different lines of chat. So first off, we'll head across to the clan over on Patreon. So it's patreon.com/TeapotOne. First one, Biker España. Chris, another great guest, Bruce. My question. Now you've had Bella for a few years, is there a change on the horizon? If so, what would be next? Now, Bella's your Ducati Supersport, isn't it?
She is, yeah.
Right.
I love Bella. I really do. She's 3.5 years old, nearly 40,000 miles on the clock.
Wow.
Been around Europe twice. She just does everything I need her to do. And I'll test ride other bikes and, I'll go, oh, I need one. It's beautiful. I love this. And then I go back on Bella and I went, no, she is the one. However, well, my plan is to keep her forever if I can. But I am looking for another bike, and Welsh winters are not very good for Italian Ducatis. Yeah, they're not very good for Ducatis. Well, multistradas maybe, but so I'm looking for a slightly more adventure style bike.
Okay,
get me through winter, and possibly to use as a workhorse for the tours, or some of the tours anyway. I am taking a group to Nordkapp in less than 2 weeks' time, and Aprilia are generously lending me the Touareg 660.
Wow.
So it is a real contender, because when I test rode it, I thought, you don't need all the big power for the roads that I'm doing in Wales, or if you go off-roading. It's light, it's nimble. So we'll see how we get on, because that could be potentially my new bike.
Wow, Nordkapp. Go on then, because I'm hopefully taking a big part in this Nordkapp next June. Actually, how long are you taking? What's the story? How are you getting there? What are you doing?
Well, we're riding all the way. Obviously, we're taking we're getting a ferry from Harwich to Hook of Holland.
Yeah,
and then from Eindhoven to Kristiansand.
Yeah.
So it's 2 overnight ferries. And
same as what we're doing, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it saves a lot of time and miles doing it that way. And then it's a bit of a race to get to the top, with obviously scenic routes and seeing some exciting things. Then back through Sweden, I'm hopefully picking up some of the TET roads, the gravel roads.
Wow.
And then coming down to Denmark, Germany, and back home. So we've got just under 3 weeks. So it's a bit of a... Yeah, I know. It's a bit of a race.
It's a long way to Nordkapp.
I know. So it's 5,000 miles that we'll cover, thereabouts.
Yeah.
We have one rest day, so it's going to be full on.
Yeah.
But we're all up for it. We're all, we knew what we're letting ourselves into. All the guys are experienced riders. And I guess the interesting bit is they're going to have the big GS's 1250 Adventures, ATM 1290, is it, I think, Multistrada V4, and then my little Aprilia. So we'll see which bike does best.
Absolutely. You don't need speed in Norway, because the coppers will hound you for it. You can't speed up there.
I've heard.
I remember when I was up there. I was in the middle of nowhere. I think I might have even been above the Arctic Circle at that point, and I'm out in the middle of nowhere. And I was coming down a big straight bit of road and thinking, "Wow, you could open up here." And then I saw, what's that in the ditch? And as I went by, it was a copper. It was a female copper, and she was lying in the ditch with a speed gun. No car anywhere near her. Like, I don't know. They must have just dropped her off. And I don't know, but she was lying in the ditch with a speed camera, and I'm like, "There's nothing round here. Where have you come from?"
Well, she left there. Do your quota. You need 10 tickets.
Yeah. And then the only other time I had any involvement with the old Bill in Norway was when I left to go into Finland, and right near the border, they had again on a back road, they had like a stop and check roadblock type thing, and they were breathalyzing everybody. And I just laughed. Yeah,
I know.
I just laughed and I said, "It's like 10 quid for a beer." It's the most sober I've been on the entire trip.
That's what I've heard, is that they have zero tolerance, don't they, for alcohol? Which, not that we go out there drinking, like you said, it's expensive. Plus, not very safe if you're riding with a hangover. So I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah. But you're still on your holidays, aren't you?
But you still, you have your dinner, you're having a glass of wine or two, and that's I think we're going to have to watch it.
It is stunning, though. I can't wait to get back. You'll love it. You'll absolutely love it.
I think my biggest challenge will be like how many photos or videos I don't take.
3 weeks. 3 weeks up there and back. That's well. Yeah, of course it's doable. I think ours is 3 weeks, but we're not doing any off road. It's all road on ours, and we're getting the ferry back again. We're doing like the same 2 ferries that you do there. We're doing the same ones coming back, I think.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I'm doing it with MCI Tours, I think, next year.
Okay.
Wow.
Brilliant.
So that's going to be in what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks time? Did you say?
Less than 2 weeks. Well, it's 2 weeks yesterday when we set off.
Oh, brilliant. Right, I'll be following that on your Insta for sure. Awesome. Right, Chris has a second question. Wine or ice cream?
Oh, wine. Come on, Chris.
Did you genuinely spend 60 quid for a glass of wine at that hotel that was on your Instagram?
No, I think that was my accent. It was 16.
Oh, 16.
Yeah, but
Right.
I still felt a full glass of wine, £16, was a little bit rich in Yorkshire.
So I thought it was 60, and I was thinking, bloody hell, what sort of place is this?
Whereas if they said 60, I would have given it back.
No, you wouldn't.
I wouldn't.
Right, next one, Matt Thompson. Cheers for those questions, Chris. Next one, Matt Thompson. Hello, both. Hope you're all well. All good, thank you very much, mate. An alien crash lands in your back garden and needs to get to John O'Groats for a lift home. What bike do you give him to make his ride memorable? Wow. Okay.
Well,
didn't think you'd be answering that type of question, did you?
no, I didn't. Well, probably give him a scooter.
Like it?
Like, make it a slow and painful journey. He'll never forget that one. Crashing in my garden and ruining it, he deserves it.
Hell hath no fury.
Indeed.
So you give him a scooter, would you? Cool. What would I give him? Have to be a Super Duke car. Have to be a Super Duke car. Have to be. Make it memorable. Have you ridden a Super Duke?
No, but see, if you give him that bike, then you don't have it anymore.
Yeah,
if
that's
you give
true.
him a shitty bike, then you still keep the good one, and then he's having a. I'm presuming the alien is male here. I don't know.
He said him. Obviously, it could be a her. Obviously, it could be anything at once. But yeah, I mean, I would. It would be cool. Imagine introducing biking to an alien, and then the alien going, "Shit the bed, this is awesome," and then they take that back to wherever they're from, or they stay. Maybe they stay and think this is brilliant. I'll stay.
But then they would make it better and whiz around with no sound, and that would make it electric. So I think we already met the aliens.
Do you think
I think they're already here.
Do you think electric's the future?
No.
I don't.
No.
I think we're going to have it for a while, but I don't think it's the future. I like it. I like electric. It's not as good as petrol for me.
I think the whole motorcycling part of it is the sound of the exhaust, is the noise that it creates. I had a electric motorbike for a few weeks, and I just didn't get on with it. The whizzing sound, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I kind of get it in cars to a point, although I have issues with the infrastructure not ready for it. So why are they shoving them down our throats when I can't get to London in one piece? And all these kind of things. So I'm not going to talk about cars, but I don't think motorcycles should be electric, and that's my stance. I
kind of agree with you, really, but I think it's coming. I think it's just going to be something that's going to be forced into our laps, really, the way it's going. But I don't think it's I'm just going to say the final answer or the final solution, but pardon the expression. But you know what I mean? I don't think it's the great ecological wonder solution that we seem to be looking for.
No, I don't.
We're going to have it for a while. What electric did you have then?
It was a Horwin. It was Chinese, and it looked like a motorcycle, but it was really a scooter. I mean, it's aimed at commuters, so I totally get it. But they gave it to me, who, if it's not 100 miles, it's not a ride, is it? So with a 30-mile range, it didn't impress me.
30 mile?
I went to see friends who lived 30 miles away just to see if I could, forgetting that the last bit to them is up a steep hill, turning up with 2% charge left.
Oh.
It was a bit of a giggle because he wouldn't go very fast either, like 55 was top speed. Yeah. And I was overtaken by a big lorry, at which point I stopped giggling and I thought, actually, this is quite dangerous. I then got to my friend's house and I had to stay there for 4 hours to recharge it enough to be able to get home. So I don't think they were very happy with me.
Yeah. That's not a fair comparison. Then you need to get a proper electric bike. You know, something like the Zeros or the Energicas or even the Harley Livewire, even that's pretty decent. Should try and, I know, I can tell by, look at your face, you're just like, no, I don't fancy that.
I'm going to nod, but no.
No. They are a lot better. They definitely are a lot better, but they still don't have the noise. But they, they'll do, the new Zeros will do about 120, 130 mile to a charge. Yeah.
I'm sure they're getting better and better. And I'm, I'd love to try it, but I think the noise bit is part of me. I was on tour with a group, and my other half sent me a link to this news story about a Krapovic exhaust coming up with the new electric one where it makes the sound. So luckily I got distracted and didn't see it properly, so I didn't bring it up. We had a conversation over dinner, and then next morning he said, that was April's Fool's.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm so glad I didn't mention it because that looked really silly.
So many of my mates were like, oh my God, have you seen this, what a Krapovic is doing? And I was like, have a look at the date. Just have a look at the date. And they were like, what do you mean? Yeah. I'm like, come on, think. Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right, cheers for that, Matt. Next one, Mike Whiting. Hi, both. Easy question from Maja. When you get old like Bruce, thanks, and the rest of us, the back is knackered and the wrist can't take a sports bike anymore, what type of bike would you go for and why? Well, you kind of addressed that, but...
Well, can I just correct that statement that I am actually older than you are, so...
That's unfair.
That's unfair.
Are you? No, you're not.
I think so.
I was born in... I was born in 76.
76, yeah. Well, I'm 74, so yes.
Really?
Yeah.
You've had an easy life.
Obviously. Gallivanting around the world.
Yeah. Wow.
So when you get as old as I am,
I already feel like I'm blooming 80 at the moment. Jeez.
No way, come on.
Oh. Yeah, it's just caught up with me.
Yeah, I think it would be towards adventure type bike rather than a big cruiser or anything like that. I obviously have a slight disadvantage, despite my height. That is, I can't never remember in feet and inches. I'm 170 centimeters. I think that's 5'6", is it?
Something like that.
So
yes.
I'm not sure, but adventure bikes are still too high. They really, I end up on tiptoes, and it doesn't make it easier because whilst obviously it doesn't matter as you're riding it, but when you come to a stop, it really doesn't help the confidence that, especially where I ride on some goat tracks that I quite like. I think, well, if there's gravel or if there's a pothole, it just makes that little bit trickier to find a space.
Yeah, I think the big manufacturers, they are trying to address that with the adventure bikes now. Like the GS, you can get the lowered suspension, you can get a lower seat. The new KTM 1290 Super Adventure, that again has a low seat option. The Pan America, the Harley, that has it actually sinks when you stop. And it's not a bad bike. It's genuinely not a bad bike. Like for a first attempt, it's pretty decent.
I think I'm not. I suppose which adventure bike actually looks good. They don't really. They're not there for looks, are they? They're for just like a utility sort of thing you use. But when I did tour last year in Slovenia, we were hiring bikes. It was a fly and ride tour, and I had a lowered GS 1250, and actually we got somewhere really well.
Okay.
In fact, I was quite surprised how much I liked it. Can you not put that in a thing?
Don't be another GS combat. It's getting to the point where I'm thinking I'm gonna have to get a different bike because everybody now is getting on. It used to be funny, just every wanker's got a GS, but now everybody's getting GSs. Everyone's switching to them. It's, I need to be different.
I mean, I understand why. I really do, because having it for that week, I was, it was a rental bike, so it wasn't as good as probably how you look after yours or anybody else's, their own bikes. It's like the rental. You'd point it into a corner and it was like, but yeah, that's where you want to go, but I'm going to take you there a bit, wobbly a bit like that at points. But I think that was just because rental bikes, cars,
Being abused, yeah.
But I was genuinely surprised at how much I liked it and how easy it was to ride and handle, and it was pretty fast as well. So yeah.
So do you want a bike that does everything then? Because you mentioned that you do some off-roading. Do you want a bike that does all that as well, or do you have a specific off-road bike that you use?
I don't have it now. My poor bear leg gets taken down some tracks that I literally am riding going, I'm so sorry. So, I mean, I've got, the tyres that are on there are not Pirellis. They're really slightly, well, they're touring tyres, so they're a bit more forgiving, I suppose.
Yeah.
And there was only once that I genuinely thought I'm going to have to just get off the bike and push because it was too rough. And it was once that I split the exhaust a bit.
Oh,
anyway,
no.
I'll do a roadside repair. But from, the more I'm riding, I love the open roads and fast bikes and all that. It's lovely. I'm not a track person. I did that and it's lovely experience, but I don't want to go and do a track day. But I've just done a Yamaha off-road experience and I just absolutely loved it. I'm thinking, this is so much more me than the track, the speed. It's seeing how, I don't know, what a gnarly road I can get down or up a hill or just go places where not everybody can go to. And I know I feel at home in the mountains, so the higher I get, the happier I am. So I do need a bike that will be a bit more suited for those kind of rides.
Was that on the Tenieri, the new Tenieri 700s?
Yeah.
I've never ridden
I had
them.
the lowered one there as well. But it was brilliant.
Was it?
It was brilliant, yeah. I had the grin from ear to ear the whole day, and then coming home as well. It was fantastic, yeah.
It sounds like it's sold already, that, Maja. I think you've bought one.
Well, we'll see. It's possibly a contender, but I do love Italian things and Italian everything, and Italia might have an advantage because of that. But I've not made any decisions yet until I've come back from all that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the build quality and reliability is like on Aprilia now, because I always wanted a Tuono. So when I came back from the big trip, I bought a Tuono, the first V4, the V4S, and it rode amazing, it sounded amazing, but it was an absolute nightmare to live with. I think I had about 4,500 miles on her. And it needed all the valve clearances doing. It didn't like cold morning starts. It would stall as you approached the junctions. If you rolled off the throttle, it was just horrible. So I got rid of it and got another Gixxer in the end. But when it worked, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Beautiful bike. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Because Ducatis used to have that reputation, but they've now got like 18,000 kilometer service intervals and all sorts on the adventure bikes.
Yeah, I mean, the Ducatis have, people still go, oh, do you need a breakdown cover?
Yeah.
Sure.
Have you had any issues with yours?
Only once I had to be collected because the clutch cable snapped, but that's not really a Ducati thing, is it? That could happen to any bike.
Yeah, definitely. If you use a bike, you're going to have issues, aren't you? And for me, it's just how does the dealership deal with it? That's the main thing for me. And if you've got a good dealership, happy days.
I think with the Ducati, because the last two springtimes, I had to change the starter solenoid unit because it disintegrated over winter, and it's right behind the radiator. It's really low down, and
gets
winter
all the
in Wales, it doesn't matter how much you wash it when you come home, still gets to it. Which was when I had to swap it. This was March, April time. I thought, no, I can't do this to her anymore. She's got to rest in winter.
So, what do you do during the winter then when you're riding? Are you still doing your tours during the winter or?
No. So I started tours, so it's 2 years ago, and it was great. So put it this way, it was locked down, we weren't allowed anywhere, and then when they opened, now my Twitter sort of account is really strong with biking community, and before pandemic, people would tweet and say, "Oh, we're coming to North Wales, where to go?" And I've made some good friends through that, because we'd meet up and I'd take them round the roads and show them the routes, and we'd have a great day, and that would happen regularly. And I thought, well, if people want to know where to ride and they come to North Wales, so then maybe I should charge them for that. And once the kind of lockdown eased off and we were allowed out for days, it was a case of, well, we'll meet up here and bring your lunch, and had a few days out, and people paid and turned up, and I thought, oh wow, this is working. Then the weekend started, so we had longer trips and everything else, and then the winter came, and I was sitting at home going, okay, I have no income and no tours, and my first winter was doing Amazon deliveries.
Wow, was it?
So that was brutal. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that was an experience. I'm glad I've done it. I really am, because it just, well, you learn something on every job, right? But I was super happy when the spring came and the tours booked up. I was like, yes, I'm out of here, never again.
And have you found that since COVID, the whole lockdown thing, you have, because you said it earlier, people are itching to get out there, aren't they? It's like they've been reborn. It's just that they just want to go. They want to go and buy that bike. They want to go on that trip. Let's just do it. Let's just go.
I mean, a lot of people had a lifestyle where they were dining out a lot. They were buying nice clothes and spending money on holidays. Yeah. And they were all of a sudden left with a pot of money that wasn't being spent. Now, it was a bit like, opening the doors and freedom and going, wow, I want everything that I've missed out on. So there were quite a few bookings that I would say came on the back of that. Great. Can't go travel yet because of whatever reasons, out of the country. Wales. Where are we going? We don't know. Oh, there's a tour company. Let's do that. Brilliant. And so I feel, Twitter certainly had a big influence on how my business kind of developed and grew, because the followers there were super supportive. But then it just spread in its word of mouth, and then I have repeat customers, and I'm still sort of sitting here going sometimes, how did this happen? This is the best thing in the world.
Awesome. How did you obviously have a very positive experience on Twitter. I just found it, I haven't been on Twitter in a good few years now. I just found it a really negative platform. It was just full of people moaning about anything, just anything at all. Maybe it was just my feed, but people just seemed to be moaning all the time. And in the end, I was like, I don't want that anymore. So I don't interact on Twitter at all now.
It can be like that. And during the pandemic and lockdown, I had to mute a lot of words, because I just I haven't watched news in years. Good. Like way before. It's probably 10 years now since I last sat down to watch the news. I just don't. I came to a realization it's not benefiting my day-to-day life. I'm not ignorant. I know what's happening around the world, but I'll find information from sources that I want to find. I'm not one of those that it's every half an hour on news, on TV, radio. I don't do that. I think, so I had to mute a lot of those words to do with pandemic, COVID, because I just didn't want it in my life. I was like, it doesn't affect me, very selfishly, but, in this house that I live, that has no room in here because it's just bringing me down. And if it wasn't that, it was how many people died in a car crash, or who got murdered, or mass shooting, or anything like that. I was like, there is just no positive news. Even 10 years ago, it's like every time I felt a bit like, oh, it's a bit doom and gloom, isn't it? And I'm not that kind of person. So I thought, what benefit do I get from listening to this? None. Just let's try a week of no news. And you know what? Nothing really drastically happened. Like, the world didn't end because I didn't know what was going on.
And you feel better yourself?
I felt better, and that was it since then. If I'm somewhere that I knew's really loud, I'll walk away. I was staying in a hotel a few weeks ago. I came to breakfast, and there was a radio blaring from another room too. There was only one lady that was serving us, and I was like, do you mind just turning it down a bit? So she did. But I thought, otherwise, I'm taking this to my room, because I just don't want to subject myself to that kind of influence.
Yeah,
But,
no, I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. I feel so much better not having it there, not watching it. Don't get a paper or nothing at all.
Yeah, but back to Twitter. There can be some moaning people. That's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I have found it overall a really good experience. Made some good friends through it over the years. Obviously, this is not a recent thing. It's I posted a picture the other day. I did it on Insta. It was just me with a glass of wine saying I'm home alone, so that's dinner.
Yeah.
Now Insta was like, funny, like whatever. Which wine is it? Da 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 da. On Twitter, I got something ridiculous, like over 2,000 likes and comments and DMs from everywhere. And you think, so I did a screenshot. I sort of filmed my scrolling through these DMs, which were of random people I've never spoken to, and not inappropriate, rude, but, hi, beautiful, or text me, or, I think, if you think that, if what you have to say to me isn't for public eyes, probably you shouldn't DM it either. So I put it on Twitter for everybody to see, because I thought that behavior has to stop. Now, I'm not offended by it, right? I take life quite lightly. It's fun. It's like I've moved on from there. But then I had other people come and say, so, how are you? And what can you do about it to stop this? And I appreciate that some women out there would probably be taking it in a very different tone.
Mm-hmm.
I just laughed it off. But that was the first experience of it. Well, not the first one, but the sort of most recent one of just wrong. Yeah.
It is weird. Like I hear obviously I've had a lot of different women on the podcast, and everybody from social media, everyone talks about that side of it, where I'm assuming it's guys, maybe some women do it, but people just they take it as open season to send, various pictures and say various things. And obviously I don't get that. Like myself and like my mates, we don't, although we have had one. Feel free. I think that's the difference. We'd be like, yeah, go on, do it. No, we had myself, Richie Vida, Lamb Chops, and TMF. We spoke about this a couple of years ago. There was a guy who contacted all of us, and basically he had this fetish where he was like, I just have this thing. Do you have any used clothes that you can send me? Stuff that you've worn? And he's just like, it's not going anywhere. I want the clothing. If you've got underwear, if you've got t-shirts that you've worn, anything, send it through. We were just like, no. And TMF was like, I asked him how much. Like, what will you give me for it? I think that's the difference. That's the difference,
maybe, yeah.
But it is weird though, isn't it? That I don't know, like some guys, when they see, women on social media, they just I don't get it. I don't understand that, to be honest. No. Like if you have a relationship with somebody, maybe, if you have a relationship and you're at that stage in a relationship, but a total random stranger that you've never met before, hi, this is me, what do you think? I don't get that.
No, and I mean, why do some men think a woman would appreciate a picture of their private parts? They're not the most pretty looking things, are they? It's like,
speak for yourself.
Well, mine isn't. I haven't got one. No, but you know what I mean? It's not exactly. Send me something beautiful that I'm going to admire, but that isn't really on top of my list. So no.
It is weird with social media, isn't it? Because like, as you said earlier with Twitter, it can be a fantastic platform for meeting new people, for opening new ideas to yourself and other people. It can be a tool for good, for sure. It can be brilliant, can't it? It can break down boundaries. It can do all sorts. But then the polar opposite can also happen with social media. It's a weird platform. It's hard to put into words, because some people absolutely hate it, don't they? And then other people like live their lives by it. Well, says us, but you know, they literally do, don't they?
Well, you know, we do. I mean, my mother half will be taking a piss sometimes, like, oh, have you Instagrammed this? You know, funny, because he's not on any of that.
Yeah.
And I go, well, you know, the thing is, this is now my marketing tool.
Yeah.
That's how I tell people what I do. And, you know, for me, I don't Instagram everything. It's when I'm out on tour and it's bike related, and stories can be a bit funny and, you know, random. That's different. But the whole, you know, hopefully when you look at my feed, it's actually, I promote motorcycling and I promote beautiful places to go to. And hopefully that's how it comes across. So I do it in ways that it doesn't feel like a job. Don't feel, oh, I have to. It's just, I want to share this because I'm having a great time. And I don't ever do it in mind with, I am marketing, look at me, come and book a tour with me. It is genuinely, that's how it's always started. It was, well, my Instagram started years ago when I had 2 big dogs. I had 2 Great Danes, and I was on Instagram taking pictures of them, and I had loads of friends from America mostly, you know, and that was quite a special kind of thing. They've both passed away. I've gone into my motorbikes and the audience changed completely.
Yeah.
But even from then, it was just sharing. Look, I've got, you know, we love our pets, don't we? So we all do it. And then, oh, I've now got a motorcycle. So I want to tell the world how fantastic this is. And look at this beautiful mountain that I'm on top of, and look at the view. And I'll tell you where it is, or, you know, or now I can show you, but I'll still tell you if you ask me. It's not as if it's a free country. We can all go to that place. It's not a secret. So for me, it is genuinely coming from sharing and hopefully inspiring others to just do the same, or go out, or you know, search for new places and new adventures. It does come across.
It does come across like you genuinely have a love for it, you know, and it's not you're not doing a hard sell or anything like that with it. It's just you do what you love, and you're good at what you do, and obviously people see that, appreciate that, and you know, they come away with you. And people always talk about your trips. I get lots of people going, God, you need to go and do one of Maja's trips, and that road you recommended.
You do, because you might see the sunshine in Wales for once.
How'd you do that? Every time I go, it's peeing it down. Every time you go, glorious.
It's funny. I do, you know, it's my dad used to always joke, you know, if I moaned about the weather, he'll go, let me just dial up. Well, obviously before mobile phones, I'll just phone up the weatherman and order some sunshine for you. And then somehow that's trickled down to me. So I always go, well, I'll order the sunshine. We'll have a dry day. And do you know what? 90% of the time it works. It's just incredible. It's not always sunny. We've had wet rides as well. Yeah. We've had rain on tours, but most of the time, I don't know. It just happens. It's dry. It's great.
You're blessed. Right, next one. Pete Morris. If you had a week off, where would you travel to on your bike and why?
Oh, a week. Do you know, I would go and explore maybe sort of Devon way, because I don't know that world at all. You know, Somerset, or just places in the UK that I haven't been to yet, or don't know them very well. I think that's what I would do, because a week is not really enough to go to Europe, because that's from North Wales to get to mainland. It's a day there and a day back. That leaves me with 5 days, which it's okay. But I think I'll probably go to places in. No, tell you what, I'll take it back. I'll go to Ireland.
Oh,
yeah.
Have you done Ireland?
No.
Yeah, me either.
We had it cancelled twice with pandemic and all that. So at the end, took the money back from the ferry company. So it's still in the making. But Ireland. There you go. You just made my mind up.
that's on my list as well. I've got to go and do the wild. Well, I want to go right around, to be honest. But definitely the Wild Atlantic Way. Do that for sure. Yeah. I've done some of the top. I've done up in Northern Ireland, across the top there. That was awesome. Going, where they do the road racing, going down some of those roads. It's just, do you follow the road racing at all?
I don't. No, not really. No.
You honestly, these roads are like, they're like single. You know, in Wales, the single carriageway roads that you get right out in the sticks. Yeah. They're those, and they're doing flat out 200 mile an hour down some of these roads, like racing. They're not. It's not like a TT where it's a time trial. That they're actual like fairing to fairing, bashing each other, racing down these roads. It's crazy.
So is it what is it? Something 200, isn't it? That's one of the races. Is that?
Is in Northwest 200, isn't it? Is that one?
Yeah. Is that one of the ones that you?
Yeah. There's that. They're bigger roads. They tend to be big. I think most of that circuit is bigger roads, main roads. Right. Is it Armoy? Is it the Armoy race? That's quite they're quite backcountry roads that they race on. It's crazy when you watch it.
I mean, I've been to Isle of Man once, and that was right at the beginning of my riding career.
Right, what, for the TT?
Yeah, and yeah, I thought that is just crazy. I mean, kudos to those guys, and they're so brave and a little bit nuts. Just, it was such an incredible experience. But I don't particularly follow any of them, so it was just the atmosphere. The
to be part of it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel the same when you're actually there for somebody, hoping for them to win, is it?
Yeah, so, it's different as well when you start actually getting to know some of the racers when they're doing it. Like this year, obviously, I've met Dominic Herbertson and Chrissy Rouse that do Chasing the Racing podcast. I've been following them for a couple of years now, and Dom does the TT. And it's different when you actually know someone that's racing, because although you're excited, you're like, fuck, Jesus, they can die here. And then he did have a crash, when you hear when you hear there's been an off, and you're like, I haven't seen Dom come through yet. And then you hear it's him, and you're like, oh Christ, please be all right. Please be all right. It's just a different angle on it, I suppose. But then they all know, everyone knows the risks, don't they? Everyone knows the risks. All the spectators know the risks. The teams know the risks. So, and I think it's great that they can do it. I think it's great in this day and age. You can still do 200 odd mile an hour in between buildings and lampposts. So yeah, long may that continue.
The health and safety brigade hasn't shut it down yet.
God, yeah. I know. Right, next one, Paul Jacques. What was the Slovenian biking scene like?
I don't know, because I wasn't a biker when I lived there. I was a 50cc sort of moped girl in school. I was the only one in school with a moped. All the boys had Vespas, and I was struggling to keep up and desperately wanted a Vespa. And my dad said, "You will never have a big bike."
What does your dad think now then?
Well, unfortunately, my dad passed away last year.
Sorry, right.
Do you know what? He's a big part of my journey was going through the journey of my dad, because he got this little 50cc moped for my mum to go to work on. Mm-hmm. Obviously, in those days, you didn't need protective gear or helmets. And she didn't like it because he messed her hair up. So she got to work with, So I commandeered that little moped and went everywhere on it. And then mother decided to, maybe if we put, a big shield on in front, like the posties have, I could use it. And I mean, I'm not going to ride that. That's like street cred gone completely. So Dad installed it, and I took it for a ride up the street and back. And it was middle of the day. The sun was beaming down, so all I could see was a reflection of me. And got back to our house and onto the drive. And when you have a brain fart, and there was a hedge, and then there were fruit trees at the back, and I just opened the throttle and went through that hedge and into a tree. Everybody was fine. The bike was fine. All these unripe apples fell down, and I had to spend a whole weekend cooking strudel and compotes and all sorts of things with these apples that we had to eat. So that was my bike experience in Slovenia.
Sounds good. Surprised you didn't make some cider out of it.
Yeah, I was too young then. No, I wasn't. Yeah, I was. No, but I didn't know what cider was. We were mostly on, what was I drinking? White wine or martinis.
Yeah. Martinis.
Yeah, I didn't know cider. Yeah.
Slovenia's a big wine place, isn't it? Slovenia's well known for wine now.
Oh yes, yeah, very good wine.
Remember,
Very little of it gets exported. It all
yes.
gets back home. Yes.
When I was over there the first time, a couple of years ago, I went with Canary Moto Tours. They do tours out of there. And we hooked up with the Slovenian Tourist Board, and they took us to one of the vineyards where all the wine is stored in the underground caves, massive, huge caves that are hand dug. So yeah, there was a lot of wine tasting. I didn't do any, obviously, but there was a lot of wine tasting going on that one. Apparently, it was quite nice.
We stopped in the little vineyard, which was family owned, and it was very small, sort of bed and they did dinner as well, and we stayed. And the family, the mum and the daughter-in-law were cooking and showing us around the cellar, and the husband was there, sort of making sure everybody's coming out with wine, and it was just such a beautiful experience. And yeah, you can't buy their wine in the shop. It was just, very local, very small, and delicious. But like with all the wines, once you're on holidays, you take a bottle home with you, and it doesn't taste the same. So we left it there.
So what about when you went back to Slovenia for the fly ride trip then? How did you find it then?
It was, so I had, obviously I've not lived in Slovenia for 25 years and more now. And I helped, we spent 5 days riding, and I had a couple of guys in Slovenia that I've connected through social media that checked my routes after I've plotted them. And I got the thumbs up. There were like a couple of bits. They said, no, this is the biker road, so you have to get off here and come here and do this. So that was really helpful. But to be honest, we didn't really, we didn't see any bike nights. There was very few places with loads of bikes around. There were a couple of spots that was told to stop, and they were there, and everybody is same as here, you're nodding, and they're all waving with their left hand, obviously, because you're passing on the left, aren't you? So that's really nice. But we didn't really get an experience of an event or a large gathering or anything like that. We were just, obviously, we were riding with Slovenian number plates as well, so we were just treated as locals.
One of the masses,
Any different. But yeah, it's not, I suppose here in North Wales, you go to places like Bala or Betis Sequoiat, and there are loads of bikes everywhere, and you know where you're parking and you're all gathering together. I haven't found, I'm not saying they're not there, but we haven't come across anything like that. So I'm not really the best to talk about the scene. Yeah.
When I've gone, it's always been with a company with Canary. So yeah, you're always en masse, but you don't. I mean, you do mix with locals because they have a couple of local bikers that come in and help guide and stuff like that. But you never. No, I've never. I don't think I've ever found myself like rocking up at a biker calf. Yeah, like you get here in the UK, as you just said, when you turn up and it's a definite bike spot, isn't it? It's loads of bikes. Yeah, I've never noticed that over there. But I do get a lot of, every time I do a vid on like a Slovenia trip, I always get loads of Slovenian bikers, so commenting on it. So it must be strong over there. It must be big.
It is definitely, because I get the same from that perspective. But I suppose also when you're in a group and you're running a tour, it's different. Yeah. You don't really, you go on your own, you're going to look out for those bike spots more because you want to meet up and chat to others. But when you're a closed group, you don't seek those in quite the same way, I think.
That's true, yeah. And you're definitely less likely to be approached by like local bikers as well, because you're already in your little group, aren't you? But I was really impressed with Slovenia. It's beautiful, beautiful place, great roads. Oh yeah. It's like Europe's best kept secret, I think. It's gorgeous. It's friendly. It's cheap. And you go there and to me, it doesn't feel like a country that has been overly influenced by, like the big corporate world. It seems to still keep hold of its roots and feels almost untouched in a lot of places.
Yeah, I would say outside of the big cities, definitely you'll get a feeling of being just authentic and independent and doing their own thing. And the easy thing for us, for the Brits, is that most people speak good English. Yeah. You're never going to get stuck. You're never going to get lost. There's always going to be somebody that can speak English and will help you out.
I always feel like a right Luddite when I travel because I can get by with a little bit of French, and I can get by with really basic Spanish, like dos cerveza por favor, or like where's the toilets, how much, that sort of stuff. I can get by with that, but outside of that, I'm totally done. Like, I go to all these other countries, I don't even speak German. It's like, I just feel a total pleb.
Well, I can sympathise, because I was good at German and I could get by in Italy and Spain, and I was good with languages because we were. I started learning English when I was 10, I think. So, being a small country and only 2 million population, that is probably 2 million Slovenian speakers.
Yeah.
If you want to travel, you got to learn another language.
Yeah.
But having been in the UK for such a long time now, I've almost lost. I can still speak Slovenian, but I can't translate anymore. I've lost it a few years ago. And now I go abroad and I just shout at them in English and expect them to understand me. And I go, well, why don't you know what I want?
You've turned into one of us.
20 years ago, I would make an effort. I would look up words. I would make an effort to speak language. And you think, oh, Maja, this is really bad.
And it's even easier now. You just go on Google Translate, don't you? You can do it. But I know it's easy, and I still never do it. It's bad.
Well, So I'm bad, and so I have. I'm going to say this because it's going to make me do it, right? I've downloaded the app and I haven't done anything with it yet, and this is probably 3 months ago. But I have given myself a task to learn Welsh.
I was going to say, do you speak any Welsh?
No. And my other half and his kids, they speak Welsh at dinner table, so I'm hearing a lot of it.
Yeah.
It's still very foreign to me. It's not daily, they're not here all the time, so
it's just all L's and Y's, isn't it? It's just yeah
that was Welsh. Sorry, Welsh, sorry, I don't mean it. It's really, really tricky, but it's almost like somebody said to me, it's like a song, it's a melody. You have to get into the rhythm of how you say things, and then they just flow. And once I heard that and I'm starting to listen, I go, it kind of can be like that. Sometimes I'll be speaking, you think you could just be singing it. But then there are times where it's just very harsh and a bit dramatic, and I'm like, oh, I'm confused now.
Yeah.
But so I have. There's a girl in the village, the landlady in the pub, and she's come down from St Albans, and she's starting to learn this like a couple of years ago. She's really good at it, so I'm going, I should make an effort.
So how long are you giving yourself then to learn?
Where are we now? In July? Well, do you know what? I think I'd like to. Oh gosh, I'd like to be able to maybe order go to a restaurant, order a whole meal with drinks, and understand the responses by Christmas. That would be kind of cool.
Oh, okay, right. Well, you put it out there, right? Everybody's heard it. Make sure.
I know. That's why I did it, because I need a push, because otherwise I'd still be sitting on my phone and I wouldn't do anything about it.
Christmas Day on your Instagram, we expect something in fluent Welsh, all right?
Okay. I will do my best.
Next one, Patrick Collum. Big fan of Maja.
Hi, Patrick.
Since our blogs and tweets started. Big fan of Maja since our blogs and tweets started. Finally went on one of her tours this year and she was great. My question for you both, do you think that the motorbike industry is in a bit of trouble? Bikes have become an expensive hobby, and with the advent of e-bikes and e-scooters, there's a squeeze coming on market share. Smaller scooters have already withdrawn from the market, and potentially with more powerful green options to come, is there a bright future for biking? Ooh. Discuss.
I'd like to say yes.
I think there is, more than ever.
I think they have become expensive because of the circumstances we've been in, because everything's gone up.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really keen on inspiring more people to go on the two wheels and reduce the amount of cars, and actually see the benefit of traveling on a motorbike or commuting on a motorbike, and just turning that tide a little bit where we have fewer cars but more bikes. we would all benefit from, clearer roads, less congestion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not over the electric bit. It's a shame, that there aren't, scooters are great for commuting. They're great for young kids. They're great for people that don't want a big motorbike and do the whole thing and just want to whiz around on it. And I think we should have more.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. I thought the motorcycle industry was in trouble before COVID hit. Generally, because everyone was getting older, there was no real youth coming into it on any significance. There was no real youth coming in. Even like the female side of it, it didn't feel like there was the sort of impetus that there is now. And in my mind, that's all come about because of COVID, and it's that change in people's sort of mind, isn't it? Of like, fuck it, I'm going to do what I want to do now. It's almost like people felt they had their freedom taken away and now it's been given back and people are just going for it. And I think the whole industry seems to be rejuvenated. There's a lot more youth coming in. There's loads more women coming into biking now. And I think the sales of adventure bikes has always been strong. But things like, your sort of your middleweight bikes, your 600, well, 600s are a dying breed, aren't they? But now it's like 800, 900 cc's. They're starting to creep in, aren't they?
Pushing it forward, pushing it up a little bit.
Yeah, well, because of the whole Euro emissions and thing, all the cc's have just had to go up, haven't they, to accommodate all that. But it just feels like there's like there's a breath of life come back into the industry. That's how I'm feeling anyway. Do you see that?
I think it's been, I think you're right, and rejuvenating is a really good word, even though, yes, there are, like my son's 23, he doesn't want to drive, he's not interested. And through his generation, what I've noticed as he was younger, that boys weren't really interested in cars.
My son's exactly the same, 25 this year, doesn't drive, not interested.
So but the girls want their freedom and independence, and they go and get their cars sorted. But I think, okay, my son wasn't interested in bikes. Honestly, he is mine, I promise you. But I could see that if they were more affordable and there are, more scooters or bikes that look, I mean, to be honest, 1 to 5 these days, sometimes I have to do a double take and you go, oh my God, is it only a 1 to 5? You don't, they don't look at it. So I think there's definitely scope for younger, and maybe for younger men that don't want to drive, get on a bike, and then hopefully the girls eventually follow as well. What I am seeing is a lot more mature ladies whose children have left home. They've got the empty nest syndrome, and they're going, I've got spare money and I've always wanted a bike, and you know what? I'm going to go and do it. And they do. And I love that. I think that is so empowering, because all of a sudden you got this, women in their 40s, 50s, 60s just, we're going to go and ride a bike. I'm going to get myself a bike. And it's fantastic to see.
Do you think... Now, I appreciate I might be putting you on the spot here, and if you don't want to answer, just say, do you think there are any boundaries in the way of women getting into biking? Because as a bloke, it doesn't, nothing sticks out in my mind at all. And when I hear women go on about, we need to overcome the boundaries into biking, I'm like, what boundaries? Just go for it.
Yeah, I think it's a tricky one. So in terms of the gear for ladies, it's definitely improved a hell of a lot, right? Go back a few years, it was all either man size with a bit of pink swirl on it, or, it's ladies, but it's not really ladies size and nothing fits. And it was quite frustrating. And now there are more choices and manufacturers are listening. And I completely understand, I was doing some filming a couple of weeks ago at Fowlers for Wise, and they were saying, well, we've got a forum and they want this, but then they don't want this. And I go, well, I'm not going to lie, you have got a really tough job on your hands, because women's bodies, shapes and sizes are so different that what I like, my best friend will hate and will never buy the same brand, because they're very, very different. So it's a challenge, and there is a very small percentage of women riders. So the manufacturers are going to have to invest a lot of money into a new line. So it doesn't pay. I get it. But those that are investing I think they're starting to see results because more women are coming through, and we want to look like women on bikes, right? You know, we want to have nice clothes that you can look good on the bike and when you're standing in a cafe or whatever. So I think it's very, very slowly, but there's definitely the change. Now, that's just the gear side, right? That's not the challenge as such. I kind of understand, but then I also struggle with the confidence side because I just go for it, I just do whatever. So I understand that most women are not like that. Going to a bike night on your own as a female, it might be intimidating because the old perception of the sexism in the motorcycling industry, the boys, they're going, oh, girl, do you need help parking your bike and all these kind of things. And I've seen it and I've heard it, you know, it's out there, but less and less. Now, changing culture, changing people's mind and perception is a long process, and it's a really difficult one to change. So I guess we're sort of in a state where to a lot of women, they will still think if I turn up to a bike night on my own, I'm going to get all the digs of, you know, can I help you park? Or, oh, are you riding this? Is this your bike? I mean, you still get those kind of comments. Oh, is that yours? You're riding it? You're not a pillion, you know? But what I see is that it is changing. And I don't know how to, honestly, you know, I'd love feedback if whoever's listening is from women. How can I help them? Because I'm all up for organising ladies' ride-outs or help them or meet up with people to go to a bike night or to go to an event or to go to Betty Coed or whatever, because, you know, encouraging them and giving them the confidence means there'll be more of us, and then they're going to have a better experience and they're going to love it more, and they're not going to just buy a bike for 2 rides and then leave it in the garage because they don't feel happy about it.
Yeah. I mean, the industry is overwhelmingly pro women in biking at the moment. It's all women in biking, definitely, for sure, at the moment. So, you know, changes are happening for sure. You're talking there about confidence and stuff, you know, like sometimes when I hear it, it irks me a little bit because I'm like, well, you know, I'm 6'3", 20 stone bloke, but I feel quite intimidated when I turn up at a track day. You know, you go to a track day and it is a really testosterone-filled environment, isn't it? Even the women there have got bigger balls than me. Some of them, you know, if they turn up and they know how to ride, then there's proper like chest out, strutting around the place like all the other geezers are doing. And as like someone that can just about get around the circuit without ditching it, you know, it is an intimidating place to be, for sure, definitely. Yeah. Obviously, I don't get people turning up going, "Can I park that bike for you?" or anything like that. To be honest, I'd offer, hey, feel free, do it. Yeah,
please do. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I kind of, for me, it's you're a motorcyclist, and whether you are male, female, or whatever you want to be, it makes no difference, right? We're connected through the love and the passion of living the life on a motorbike, whatever that might mean to you. To me, might be different, but it's the bike that can, sort of brings us all together. And yeah, it was in the past very much male-dominated industry. It's still dominated by male if you want to do the percentages, but women are accepted, women are encouraged, invited, and so I sometimes struggle with, well, why do you not just go? Because the way I have experienced biking, I've made so many male friends that were super supportive and helpful, and they'd go out with me and they'd teach me how to corner and in my early days. Yeah. So I'm super grateful for them, and you know, I can't say I've experienced apart from an odd comment, but it's me. I can take it and probably give it back worse. So
you don't strike me as a shrinking violet at all. Yeah.
No, but that's why I'm struggling with that side of like. So if they say to you, "Can I park your bike?" Well, okay, please do. Why not? I'm going to go and get a beer. I mean, a tea. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very much like you. I just want to promote biking to everybody. You know, like, but I do understand more. I used to be quite, is belligerent the right word? it used to really irk me, women only this, women only that. And I'd be like, well, why? Just get everyone into biking. But I understand it. Now I understand, you need that like almost positive discrimination to overcome decades and decades of what has been a male environment, hasn't it, traditionally? And it certainly feels like the tide's changed. It certainly feels like the tide's changed. And yeah, can we just open it up to everybody? Come on, jump on a bike, get on the bike, come and ride.
I agree, and I think more people, that promote the motorcycling, regardless of what sex you are.
Yeah,
the more this message will spread, and the less important it'll be whether you're a girl or a boy on a bike. You're just a rider on a bike, and you're therefore part of the community. And I
think that's where social media is really coming to the fore now. Is that there's so much content out there of just bike. You don't know what people are initially. You just look and you just see a biker on a bike, and there's bikes doing everything, isn't there? You've got every type of bike doing every type of ride, from sports bikes off-road to adventure bikes, hartling round tracks. You've got everything now, haven't you? People are just, it just feels like now we're really promoting the spirit of biking, the freedom of biking. It's just, no one cares. Just get out on a bike and enjoy it.
Do you know what I love is that my groups, apart from one group that was mostly Ducatis, bar two bikes, it's just a fluke.
Bar two freaks,
weirdos, yeah. No, you're not. The different bikes, the different age bikes, the people that turn up in different gear. It doesn't matter which bike you have, how old it is, what gear you wear. Which helmet you have. None of that matters. We come together as a group and we spend 4 days riding together, and not once has there been any snobbery about, oh, my bike is better than yours, or I've got better brands than you. It was just that it's completely irrelevant. We're all together there because we want to have 4 days of riding wonderful roads, see beautiful scenery, talk about it in the evening, have a glass of wine, and repeat it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's just such a leveler. You don't need to be turning up in the brightest, shinier, and the newest kit and bike. In fact, I think it's quite the opposite. The older the bike, the more we're interested these days.
Right? True. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The more life behind the bike, for sure. Cheers for that one, Patrick. Next one, Lee Vigor. Buddy the biker dog. He says, hello both. Hope you're both well. This week I attended with my wife the biggest lady biker meet, 1549 attended, making a new world record, and it was amazing. If you could attempt a world record, what would it be and why? And that's to both of us.
Oh.
Ooh. Wow. Ooh.
That's a good question.
Did you go to that one? That the Triumph Day?
No, I didn't. I couldn't make it.
No.
Unfortunately, I did have it in my calendar, and I was going to go, but it just didn't work out for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
1,549 people. That's a good effort. Well,
that's a good crowd. Yeah, well done. Yeah.
Right, world record. What and why?
Ooh, stumped on that one.
I would like it to be have something to do with travel, like world travel. But I wouldn't want to do the quickest, because what's the point? You're just flying around and not seeing anything. And in order to be the longest, I mean, it's literally, well, there's Simon and Lisa, and there's other couple. There's people been on the road for like 15 odd years. So
yeah, they probably got that.
Yeah, I think they've nailed that. They're still doing it. So, you're never gonna beat that. Maybe some endurance. I quite like the endurance rides, like the biggest distance in the shortest time. But then I don't think they allow that anymore, do they? They don't allow like Guinness World Records for the furthest travelled in the shortest length of time. Not on public roads anyway. No, they won't let you do that anymore. Oh God! You got anything? Any ideas?
No, I mean, I'm trying to think. So, what kind of world records and what? I mean, I'm trying to think away from motorcycling. Where, like, I've got my best buddy, right? She ran London Marathon while hula hooping all the way around.
Wow.
And she was in a Guinness Book of World Records for that. Like, I think that is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that is pretty cool.
So I think for me, I'd like to think it would be something physical, as in what my body's capable of, what I can do. So endurance kind of idea where, and I don't by any stretch of imagination think that I am strong enough to achieve a world record of having heaviest lifting of weights or anything like that, because I'm not into that. But it would probably be, I would be super proud if I could achieve something so that it took my body and my mind to get me through some big hurdles, and whether that's running or walking or cycling or, that kind of physical input that would achieve a world record of something. Well, that would be, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I like to see how I can push myself and achieve personal bests in any of those kind of sports, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, I mean, because I'm not, I'm not that smart to say that I will invent something wonderful. It'll be a world record for, I don't know.
For me, like I love it when someone says I can't do something, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. But I need to really want to do it, like and if I have that, then it's happening. Then I'll make sure that happens. But I don't get that. I don't get that sort of passionate and stubborn about many things. So when something really does grab me and I go, yeah, I'm going to do that, then I'll just focus on it and all right, we're doing that now. But it doesn't happen very often. I have this thing about cycling around the UK that's in the back of my mind, but I've not quite grabbed it yet. And when I do, it's happening, but at the moment I've not. And then the other one I've got is rowing the Atlantic. That appeared during COVID. That just appeared during the whole COVID thing. I think I was following some of the TWAC lot on Instagram, and I just thought, that's cool. I'd love to do that. But it's like, it's like a pipe dream at the moment, because I think you need to raise like 160, 170 grand to do it. Plus you're rowing single-handedly across the Atlantic. So it's like, But again, that's something that's on the horizon, but I've not grabbed it yet. So I don't know. I don't know. World record wise, there's nothing that I'm that passionate about, I think, at the moment, that I would be like, right, I'm going to go for that.
Okay, I would like to be the world record holder in speaking the most languages of the world.
Oh, wow.
There you go. Wow. How's that? That would be pretty cool. Go to every country in the world and you can speak their language.
So is that going to be by Easter then? You're doing Welsh by Christmas, and then every language by Easter?
No. That would be a cool record to hold.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always really envious of people who are like fluent in any language, but you get people that are fluent in like 5, 6, 7, 8 different languages. Bloody hell. Fair play to you.
Yeah.
Right. Good question, that, Lee. Made us think. Next one, Debbie Clegg. How you doing, Debbie? Hello. Really looking forward to hearing and viewing this brew time. Question to both, please. Who is or was the biggest influence and support with your choice of career? Ooh, which career?
I was just going to ask that.
Go on then.
Okay, so back in my childhood and my school time, my dad was very much of you do as you're told. In terms of this is what's expected from you, and you will go to High School of Economics and you will turn out to be a good secretary. That'll be your path. I really wanted to go to art school and do photography, but it wasn't to be at the time, so that got knocked on its head. And weirdly, I kind of keep going back to some sort of admin roles. I suppose when I did have office jobs, but then that didn't last very long because I set up my own business and did my own thing. So I guess I'm not sure. My dad kind of started me on a path I didn't want to be on. And he did it from, his way, thinking that's the correct way. That's how things are done.
Yeah.
My secretary. I'm surprised he let me ride that little moped because...
Different generations though, isn't it?
It was different generations, yeah. My mum was a bit more open and supportive in trying to do different things, but, I guess it was always a case of, well, no, I'm not going to be there. So maybe he was an influencer in an opposite way, where once I got my freedom and I was independent and I could do what I wanted to do, I did everything but that to sort of prove him wrong in a way. But I'm not... Like the exhibition business, I caught the bug. I was working at a company and they assigned me the project to sort out a show to go to in the NEC. And it was the first time I didn't know what I was doing, but I loved it. And I got the bug. And then I searched for a job in Manchester. And then I set up my own business after I learned enough to know what I was doing. So I think in reality, I'm not sure I have anybody really influencing my careers. I think they just... opportunities came to my life. I grabbed them, I liked them, and I ran with them. Yeah.
And then with the biking, with the touring side of things, obviously, the whole lockdown thing was a big impetus on it. But what was it that attracted you to touring initially on the bike?
I think the bike was always in the back of my mind. When we moved to UK with my husband at the time, we thought, we're going to get the licenses, we're going to get a couple of Ducatis, because Ducati was always, since I was a little girl, watching Italians coming to Slovenia on their bikes, filtering, going, I'm going to have a Ducati one.
That was the poster bike, was it, the Ducati?
That was the thing. So we were going to get licenses, get a couple of Ducatis to ride in summer to Slovenia, and then 2 weeks later I found out I was pregnant. So things got put on hold a bit, family took priority. My son was born with his right leg slightly, not deformed, wrong, shorter, so he had several surgeries through his childhood, from up to about the age of 14, surgeries all the time, back and forth from hospital. So life was very different. So biking wasn't even on a horizon, but it was a little flame that was always there. You see the bike and and you're like, oh. It was he was 16 years old, so I could see he was going to leave soon and going to university and this and that. And I worked with a client who I helped him set up a motorcycle workshop in Chester, and he said to me, go and get your license and I'll build you a bike. And the moment I sat on, well, first it was a 125 on your
CVT.
And I thought, this is awful. I hate it. I'm just like, I can't get this bike going.
Did you?
Shit, yeah. But I persevered. And then the next lesson was up on 500cc. I went, oh, now we're talking. Okay.
Oh, wow, right,
bigger bikes.
Yeah.
And that was it. And I think all these years of having this in the background that never saw the light of day just kind of came out in this gush of like passion and going, wow, I should have been doing this all my life. No, I don't think I should have, because it would have been a different life. But now it's almost like making up for some of the lost time, I guess. And with Sam not being around, that, as I said before, for women who come to a stage where their children leave, when I was feeling sad or missing him, or it's going to be 3 years at Christmas, I haven't seen him. Going on a bike was the best solution for me to not go down that deep dark hole that you can't climb out of there. So
wow,
diverted here totally than that, but
no, good. No, I totally understand that. Yeah, as you said before, when you're riding a bike, there's no time. You don't think about other things. You live in the moment, aren't you?
Yeah,
when you're on a bike. Yeah. Brilliant.
And from my dad saying you'll never have a big bike, to going to see him 3.5 years ago on my solo Europe journey, unfortunately, he had dementia, so he didn't really know I was there. But it was a whole journey I had to do and go through it. But I kind of made, you said I'll never have a bike. Look at me now.
Yeah.
A bit too late, but I did it.
Mine was I was a little bit like that on the bike side of things with me, in that, like, growing up, I was never allowed a bike. I always had this thing in the back of my mind. Like, my first memory, I was about 5, I think. And I remember, sorry, that's my dog. She's just come in from a walk. I remember about 5 years old, my dad coming home from being off on the rigs, and he brought a mate with him, and his mate turned up on this great big blue Suzuki. He must have been a Bandit, but looking back, this thing was massive. And I remember this guy picked me up and plonked me on the tank, and took me around the house. We lived right out in the country, so he took me around the house on this little bike, this big bike, and I just had a bug from then on. It's like, I want a bike. But my mum and dad were totally against it.
Right.
As it turns out, my dad used to ride, but I didn't know at the time. I didn't know my dad used to have a bike. But when he met my mum, he stopped riding. But my mum was very anti-bike. But then, perversely, it was my mum, when she was dying from cancer, my mum was the one that turned round to me one day, and I think I was watching Long Way Round on the telly, one of the repeats of it. And I'd seen it all before anyway, but it just happened to come on the TV. And my mum, I started moaning, saying, it's all right for McGregor with all that money, blah, 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 blah. And she just said, look, you've always wanted a bike, you've never done it. Don't get to my stage where you face the end and you regret what you've not done in life. Look after those that you love, but live your life. That's where my live your life tag comes from. And it was literally like there and then. It was like an epiphany, and I booked my direct access there and then, and that was it. So it was weird how my mum was the one that stopped me having the bikes initially, and then she's the one that sort of opened the doors to it, really, and she was the cataclysm for the whole thing. Yeah. So, that's what got me onto bikes. And in terms of career, I sort of fell into the old bill. It was I didn't grow up wanting to be a copper. I was like how your dad was saying you had that path. My dad was in the oil industry, so it was like, well, I'll go into the oil, I suppose. I'll be an engineer. So I went to uni and I did mechanical engineering, and then I did civil engineering at uni, and got my degree in it, and thought, I don't want to do that. and then somehow I ended up in London joining the old bill, and that was it. Just sort of fell into the old bill. Yeah. And that was it.
Things happen. I was talking to a friend of mine on the phone the other day, and he said, it was a friend of him, it talks about threads in your life. And he said, they kind of, you're either brave enough to accept it and go with it, or you stay on your path because that's where you want to be. Yeah. But because we were talking about my, what's happened to me and my biking and all that, he said, it sounds like you've just had this thread come to you and you've just gone for it. You were brave enough to follow it because, we all go through different stages in lives, and whatever you're doing today might not suit you tomorrow. But I think majority of us just stick to what we know because it's easier. Yeah. Until, but you get to a point where circumstances change or your mindset shifts, and if an opportunity comes your way and you're brave enough to take it, it can take you to some wonderful places.
I totally agree. Yeah, it's about recognizing those opportunities and then having the, pardon the expression, having the balls to grab them and go for it. Yeah, isn't it? And you're totally right. I think that's the difference between those that actually live the dream and really enjoy what they're doing, and those who wish they did. That's totally. Yeah, I think that's the only difference really between those that do it and those that don't. It's you either never give up, full stop, do you? Because even for me, even though I'm doing what I love now, it's not easy, is it? Running your own business isn't easy, and you can either give up and go and work for somebody else and give up on your dream, or you can just keep trying to figure out, okay, that's an obstacle. How do I get around it, over it, under it, through it, however you do it, and keep going. Yeah.
And I'll say this, I get quite, I don't get offended because that's not me, but I get irked when people go, you're so lucky, you have a great life. I go, I worked damn hard to get to where I am. I didn't just wake up and then all this was here in place. I know. And you think, you don't, it's like you said, running your own business, you don't see what goes on behind it until you come to what other perceive success, and they go, "Aren't you lucky?"
Yeah. You get the little snidey comments, don't you? Yeah. We can't all live the dream.
Years ago when I was, crying into pillow because I'm thinking, I've got 100 quid to my name and that's it. How am I going to survive? And, all those downs that you have when you are just dependent on yourself, which they do come. But yeah, too right. When the money's rolling in and you're having a great time and you're thinking, I've done this. Yeah. It's not just luck.
Debbie's got another question. She says, a random one. What's your favourite sandwich filling?
Nutella.
Nutella?
Yeah.
Do you have anything with Nutella?
No.
No?
Sometimes I'll just have it with a spoon out of it.
Yeah. Have you had Nutella and banana?
No, I find it too strong. Two strong flavors fighting. So I would just have nice, fresh farmhouse white bread with thick Nutella spread on.
I'm salivating. God. Have you ever had Nutella and peanut butter in a sandwich?
No.
Oh, wow.
No.
Wow. Someone told me about it and I was like, don't be a freak. Right. Wow. It's amazing.
But I tell you what else is a bagel with cream cheese and smoked salmon.
Yeah, that's good.
Every day.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's posh, but that's good.
That's my Christmas
have that with your wine.
routine.
What's that?
That's my Christmas morning routine.
You've got to order that in Welsh.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we always had every Christmas morning when he was grown up enough, obviously, I would open a bottle of nice champagne. We'd go to Prosecco at the end of the day when he can't taste it any difference anymore. But Christmas morning, a nice bottle of champagne, would have bagel, smoked salmon, cream cheese, and that was the start of our Christmas morning.
That's posh, that is. We're all coming to your house for Christmas dinner. Sounds awesome.
Deal.
Cheers for the question, Debbie. Next one, Charlie Callard. How you doing, Charlie? Evening to you both. Hope you're all well. All good, man. Thank you.
Very much so.
So my question, on your extensive travels, what's been your worst moment where you thought, I could be done here? And also, which was your most wow moment, which you'd want to relive time and time again? Okay. Best and worst moments.
Oh, I think my best moment was when I was riding in Tasmania, because that was so far away from home. I was on my own in a country where I didn't know what animals will be coming out of the woods. And in fact, I was riding down the road and saw a sign saying Laughing Jack's Creek. And I went, that's awesome, I got to see it. So before I thought this through, I turned right onto this gravel track. I had a Tiger 800 rental. When the sixth sense kicks in sometimes, and I was riding, and it was going deeper into nothing. And then this creek kind of eventually appeared, but it was only small, and I kept going around thinking I'll see more. Yeah. And I thought, I'll stop here for a photo. And I kind of went taking photos. I'm thinking, shit, I'm actually in the middle of nowhere. Nobody knows where I am. Yeah. There could be snakes and God knows what creatures. And I just scrambled onto the bike so quickly as if somebody was actually chasing me. My heart was pounding and I had to calm myself down thinking, you're being ridiculous here. Yeah. But it was one of those moments that you create in your own head that was kind of crazy. But then as I carried on, I was thinking, I'm okay now, okay. And I just sort of almost knew what would happen before it did. And it was a left hand bend and going up a hill on this gravel. And this wallaby was standing on the side of the road with his little paws there. Just waiting. Looking at me. And I was going slow down, but obviously I didn't want to stop on a hill. And it could kind of went bounce across the road really, really slowly, turned around and just watched me. And I kept going, but I thought that was the most beautiful moment and the most sort of memorable that still is here. After all this, I scared myself to death with nothing. And then I had this beautiful experience of a local animal you don't see very often or ever hear. And it's just the way he kind of went across, or she looked at me, and it was almost like go on then, what are you going to do now?
Yeah. Not seen one of these down here.
I think I would class this as one of the best ones in terms of the whole experience and how I still now go, I wish I had a camera or the balls to stop, and whether, would it run away or, I don't know. But that was just really special. And yeah, definitely one of the top ones. Sounds
amazing. That for me, I've had this question before on a podcast, and definitely the worst was having to come back after I started the world trip after Africa, when I ended up back in the UK for a while. That was the worst. That was the lowest. And then I think the best. Well, I love that anticipation of a trip. Like wherever I'm going, wherever you're going away, or not, even if if it's Wales, if it's into Europe, Scotland, it's just that build up to the trip. I love that feeling. And then, the day that you head off, it's brilliant. And then it's almost like it almost starts to become a little bit anticlimactic if you're away for a week. The first day or two are awesome, aren't they? And then after that, I start thinking, I'm going to be heading home soon. But if you're ever away for a protracted length of time, like, I'm not just talking like a year, but if you're away for like a month on the road or 6 weeks or something like that on the road, you get that feeling of, I'm going to have to go home soon. And then you think, oh, no, I don't. I'm going to keep going. It's that feeling of freedom. That's what I love. Yeah. Every time. I love that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same.
Nice one, Charlie. Cheers for that, pal. Right, last one of the Patreon questions from Harley. How you doing, pal? How's it, guys? A question for you, Maja. How would you compare biking in the UK? Oh, there's another one. How would you compare biking in the UK to Slovenia? Well, you didn't really have much experience, did you?
No, I think I've answered that before.
Yeah. And he says, for the two of us, what social stigma does society need to get over? Blimey.
Oof.
Social stigma. I think for me, it's this. I don't feel like that anymore, and I feel most people don't feel like this anymore. I don't feel like we're different. I don't look at people of different colours. I don't look at people from different countries and feel they're different anymore. I personally just feel like we're people, and I think that's probably come from travelling. I think it always strikes. It always hits me quite hard when people go on about racism and all this sort of stuff being alive and well, because I don't feel like it is. But then I'm a white guy living in the UK, I suppose. But and I've got loads of friends of different colours, different cultural backgrounds, religious backgrounds. And I've never witnessed them experiencing anything like that, but I know they have, and I know they do. When you hear people talk about it. So, yeah, that for me, it just feels like why do we still have that? I don't understand why we still have it now. So. Yeah,
it's gone. I agree with you. I think the whole. We're all human beings at the end. And everybody's life is worth the same. Yeah. And it's worth to you what you put in it, and it's not for anybody else to decide what that is. Yeah. And I understand that we need rallies and raising awareness and all the rest of it, but then why is the world so dumb?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is the media, though.
But that's what I was going to say. The reason I say dumb is because we are getting conditioned, or if you want to call it brainwashed, and I don't mean that in a brainwashing kind of way, but it is true that the media is causing a lot of the problems in the world. And it's a tricky one, because the media, we need to know what's going on around the world, and it connects us across the globes in a way that otherwise we wouldn't be connected. Yeah. But it's also damaging the world and the population in a huge way.
Definitely.
I don't have the answer to it, but
you said about you don't watch the news anymore. Like I grew up thinking and assuming, and I don't know if that was the case, but I always used to feel like the news just reported fact at the time. But to me now, it's like everything's sensationalized and it's opinion and interpretation. It's not, I never feel like a balanced viewpoint is ever put across.
Do you know what would be an interesting experiment is to turn off or like not report any news for 3 months, like literally shut them down, no news for 3 months, and then see how the world changes.
Yeah.
And then maybe start with balanced news that is factual. So it could be as trivial as, oh, look at my beautiful plants. We've got these flowers that only happen every 8 years, and it's this year, and this is really special. To yes, there has been an accident, people have died maybe, or not in that way, like there was a car crash, because that's not news, because the more cars on the road, the more crashes there are. It happens every day. That's not news anymore, is it? No. But I think it would be really interesting to just not report on any news for every 3 months. See what happens to the politicians when they have no outlet to tell us what they want. Yeah. See what happens to people that are having their own agenda and want to sort of change the world for their benefit. Well, that would be actually really interesting.
I think society would be healthier. Just mentally, people would be healthier, wouldn't they? Because there's just so much utter bullshit forced down your throat through the media in particular that people take as gospel. I used to see it all the time in my old job. Like you'd be involved with an incident in London in the police, and then I'd get home and you'd either be like, oh, wow, can't wait to see, well, not can't wait, but you expect something that you've dealt with to be on the TV because it was a significant thing. You get home and it's not reported, or they report something that you've been involved with, and it's like, that's not what happened. That's totally not what happened. And I think that really was what started to open my eyes to, it's just a fairground, isn't it? It's just a game. It's like what's going to get people's attention. It's nothing to do with reported fact.
So anyway, we cut out news and we stop health and safety people.
That's it.
Do what they want to do, because absolutely we are being pushed into the box where you're not allowed to breathe for yourself anymore. And it's just ridiculous. Yeah,
it's becoming way too much of a nanny state, isn't it? I think you just give people back the right to do what they want to do, as long as you're not hurting other people. If you make the choice to do something which could harm you, well, that's your choice, isn't it?
Bruce for president.
I don't want that job.
No, I wouldn't either, but I totally agree. We're all responsible for ourselves. They should stop. Half of the rules that are out there are not really helping anybody at all. So,
right, that's all the Patreon questions. Now we have some over on Instagram. Are you okay for time? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think my man just came home and he said, "Where's dinner?" So he's good.
We're just going on about equal ops and women's opportunities.
Do you know what? He's such a good cook. He's better than I am. So.
Is he? Right, okay. Right, so this is over on Instagram, TeapotOne Insta, and obviously I'll leave all of Maja's social links and everything, website and all that down below in the description. So, first one we've got here is from Biker Yog. And he says, so how do you get the Blood Mobile gig? I'm assuming he's meaning blood bikes.
Okay.
Yeah. How did you get into blood biking? Sure, blood biker as well, aren't you?
Yes. I haven't done any shifts in a few months because I've moved and I'm quite far away from the base. But I think I got my license and I was driving in a car wherever I was going, and I saw a blood biker come past, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. Wonder what it is. So I Googled it and I looked it up, and I thought, wow, they're helping NHS. And as I mentioned before, with my son being through so many surgeries and hospitals and all the rest of it, it was just a natural fit for me that, I've always donated money or I've done runs or anything like that for charities. But I thought when I saw that, it was the thread that I went, I need to go in this direction.
Yeah.
So I found a local group, and they said, well, you have to have your bike license for 2 years before you can join us. So I joined as a member, and I attended a few meetings, and I waited for that 2 years to then pass the test. But they didn't require ROS where I am at the time. Each group is a little bit different. And anyway, as soon as the 2 years were up, I was there going like, yeah, I need to do this. And I threw myself into it, and I did. I was lucky. I had an office with, a couple of girls working with me, so they would cover for me when I wasn't in the office. Or so I could do a shift a week, and I did that for a long time. And I did a lot for them during pandemic, but lately not so much. But how you get into it is find a local group and ask what their requirement is, because each one is slightly different. And then you just go through with that.
Yeah, just get on Google. Just Google Blood Biker, go to the website, chuck in your address, and there'll be information there, isn't there? And as you said, just find your local group and go with it. Yeah. If it's someone you want to do.
Find out when the meetings are. Turn up at the meeting and, speak to them.
Yeah. Awesome thing that you do. Next one, Deo4055. Hi, Bruce. What does Maja think to the potential blanket 20-mile-an-hour limit across huge amounts of Wales? And will it have any effect on her tours at home? Is this really the way forward for road safety and casualty reduction? If the future stats show that nothing has changed, will we see the limits raised again? Is that true? What, 20-mile-an-hour limits? What, even out in, like, the Nationals and stuff?
So that's the time when I need to look serious and professional and not play fair with, right?
You just want to throw something, yeah.
Yes. It's they're looking to do it across towns, most places in towns, not on other roads. But I think they're running out of roads to reduce speed limits in Wales by now, because it's so frustrating.
Same here. Southeast is terrible.
Yeah. I mean, the roads, you got your Black Mountain Pass is down to 40.
Yeah, right? I saw that.
I don't know. The Regos Road, 40. The Horseshoe Pass, 40. I mean, I could just, scream. So when it comes to riding in villages, towns, and, around schools, I'm absolutely supportive of the 30.
Yep.
Round schools and kindergartens, 20, I get it, fair enough. It is a bit of an issue in South Wales, because to get to anywhere fun, you have to go to lots of villages. So it is, I mean, I tell my groups, look, it's going to be painful until we get to this point, and then it's fun again. Yeah. I think it's overkill to do a blanket. I think it's not really got... I don't think it's got any scientific research behind it. I mean, I understand, like I said, when you have vulnerable people, when you have school children, yes, you do slow down because the stopping distance reduces and all that. I totally get it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Also find that if I'm riding, so if it was down to me, I wouldn't have any speed limits apart from the areas we just described. Because I feel that we all ride to our abilities. Or we should, and if you're not, then you're an idiot, because you're going to end up getting killed soon, right? And hopefully you don't take anybody with you.
I think that's the problem, isn't it?
That is a problem, and I understand it. But in taking that scenario aside, you will ride to your ability, and whether that's, I'm happy at 40 or at 60, that's where I am at my peak performance. So if I'm going down the road at 60 and I'm really concentrating and I'm watching everything and I know what's going on, I'll be a better rider than when I'm going at 40, where I'm going to get bored and then I'm going to start thinking other things, and I'm going to put music on and I'm going to miss somebody coming out from the side road because it was just happening too slow for me. And we are all different. I get that. And I'm not talking going 100 miles an hour, because that's a completely different spectrum again. But forcing everybody to do 40 everywhere and then going to 20. I mean, I'm sorry, but my Bella doesn't do 20. She really struggles. She really complains, and it's not healthy for us. A lot of modern bikes do struggle. Yeah, they really do struggle at 20 mile an hour, for sure. Yeah, and putting more of those speed limits, I don't think... I'd be surprised if it's to do with safety. I think it's more to do with speed limits, he's being caught speeding and
revenue
for it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I agree with everything you just said. I'm the same. If I'm out on what used to be a national, or say it used to be a 50 and now it's a 40 or it's a 30, you get bored. You totally get bored, and you cannot concentrate 100% of the time when, I find if I'm in a national and you're making a bit of progress, you are 100% focused on what's going on. And you're reading the road, you're looking round about you, you're switched on, totally. But you put me onto a 40 out in the open country, and I'm just like, I'm bored out my tits here. it's... And
what's going to happen with the smart cars when they're having iPads and all sorts of things? And, as motorcyclists, you still have to pay more attention to the road than a car driver.
Totally.
But I think there have been more accidents because car drivers will not pay attention and they'll knock over bikers or cyclists.
Yep. I think over in the Isle of Man, they have outside of like towns and villages, their national speed limit, what we have is 60s and 70s. It's unrestricted out on the Isle of Man. Now, it'd be interesting to know, outside of the TT time or outside of the race time, when you have lots of mainlanders, you've got lots of tourists coming to the island, and obviously people are just crashing left, right and centre during that time. But just with the islanders, it'd be interesting to know, what are their road figures like? Like, do they have a lot of accidents over there? Anyone from the island? I know there's some people from the island actually listen to the podcast. Do you have a lot of road accidents outside of race periods because of that unlimited speed, or not? It'd be interesting to know what.
Do you know, I think if you taken away the speed limits outside towns, there would be a spike in accidents because a lot of people
initially,
you're walking as fast as they can and whatever, fine. That's just human nature, isn't it?
And Darwin.
And you and I would go much faster than we should probably too, right? Let's be honest.
Never. No way.
But just polish that halo a little bit more. But ultimately, eventually that would slow down and it would plateau and it would level out, and you'd go, well, it's not actually that exciting. It's like you go to Germany, you go on a motorway where it's got a restriction, you go as fast as you can, but then you go, oh, I've done that now, and that's it.
Yeah. and again you start looking all round about you. You start becoming even more aware of what's going round about you, because you know that even though you're doing 130, 140, there's going to be somebody coming behind you doing 160, 170. So you are like really focused on what's going on round about you, even if you are doing the big speeds. I would. I mean, there's not a chance in hell that any government would ever do that. But it would be interesting, wouldn't it, if they just got rid of speed limits on like the open roads, just to see what happened.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's going to be the polar opposite, isn't it? It's going to be 10 mile an hour. That's what's going to happen.
It'll be like, give us the keys, walk from now on.
Yeah.
But you know what? If the public transport was affordable and regular and running smoothly, like, when I was in Sydney, it was Christmas Day. They put more buses on in the city than they have on normal days because they don't want people to drink and drive. So I got on a bus. Everybody was jolly. Everybody was drinking on a bus. Went down to Bondi Beach. Again, the same. It was packed. I went, this is not for me. Went back on a bus to my little pool and serenity. But the point is that on Christmas Day, there were more buses available than on a normal day of the week.
And it'd be the polar opposite here, wouldn't it?
Bloody genius, isn't it? And here, you can't get a bus on Christmas Day or any other big holiday. That's just an example, But they want people to be safe, and they give them an opportunity to go from A to B in a safe way. So put more public transport options on.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Right, next one, Phil Mansfield. Phil Mansfield 1. Hi, Bruce. Hope you and Maja are well. Keep up the good work. I've got 2 questions. Excuse me. As a fellow blood biker, if Maja could choose any bike to deliver our precious NHS cargo, what would it be? It's going to have to be a Ducati, isn't it?
Obviously. It's all about the speed. good question. So we've had FJR, which I really didn't like.
Did you not?
No. Now, we have bikes in a shipping container, which is raised off the ground by that much, and then you have this narrow aluminium ramp that you put on, and you have to wheel it out backwards. So it's a bit of a bike, right?
Yeah, gotcha.
And it's not just me. It's, we have retired men that aren't tall, that are slim, they struggle with that bike.
Yeah.
So that went. Then we had a V-Strom. Wasn't too good on that. Then we got the RT again, another big bus, which I went, nah, not too keen. And we had a Honda Cross Runner. Now that was okay. That was an acceptable kind of, manageable and good time, good bike to ride. It was comfy and did the job. It seemed to be favouring either the big, massive bikes or an adventure type bikes, but do you really need an adventure type bike for a blood bike job? Not necessarily, because we don't go off-roading.
No, it's true. It's true. But then most people that buy adventure bikes don't take them off-road, do they?
True.
It's comfort, I suppose. It's comfort and the look, maybe.
I guess mine. Obviously, Ducati would be great, but I think I do like a Tiger Triumph. The 900 I rode last. That was really, really nice.
Smooth.
And it's got plenty of, we've got panniers. It's got all the bits that you need to transport all your gear. So let's go with that.
All right then. And he said, second question, how could you get more bikers interested in supporting blood bike groups and vital service that they provide to the NHS? So how would you get more people into blood bike groups?
You don't have to be a biker to support blood bikes, because we have a lot of volunteers that are dispatchers or controllers. So, the NHS rings the main number that then gets routed to somebody at home.
Yeah.
That goes, we need a rider from this hospital to this place or to hospice or whatever we're going. And that person will then phone the biker that's on duty, go from here to there and direct them and tell them what it is. Gotcha. So you don't have to be a biker to contribute to the service, to start with, I think. As a biker, it's a voluntary organization. Nobody gets paid, not even the top man, right? They're all volunteers. And because of that, typically we'll get a lot of retired people or people that have their own business that can take the time out because it is a commitment. So I guess attracting maybe a younger audience is a bit more tricky. Getting bikers in certain areas, depending where you are, depending on population. So if you're mid-Wales, you're probably only going to have 2 or 3 as opposed to somewhere in London where you're going to have a queue of bikers waiting to volunteer. Yeah. I guess it's just raising awareness of what it is, what it stands for, how we do it. And you have to be committed enough to be a biker, to be an advanced rider, because I think pretty much all of them expect you to have some sort of advanced course, either ROSPA, IAM.
I think they do now, don't they? Yeah.
Because even our group, they didn't when I joined, but I have done it now, and they do stipulate that you should really be an advanced rider. But if I guess it's sharing with others. Like I when I can, I do. It's a bit, again, not wanting to do it as in, oh, look at me, I'm a volunteer. It's wanting to do it to say, look, there's a service here that needs bikers and maybe we could all, help. So just how that's done.
I think that's the type of people you want, isn't it? That's the type of people, those that, like yourself, who are attracted to it to provide an actual service, not those who do it because it facilitates, an insurance discount or a monetary reward of some kind. You want people who are going to do it out of the kindness of their heart. Really, and the desire to do it. Find
most of us have a personal story and reason why we're there. Probably 90% of blood bikers, you're going to ask why this charity, and you'll go, well, NHS saved my life, or
Yeah.
there's going to be a backstory to it. Yeah.
You said you don't do it much anymore. Do you still do it, or?
I'm still a blood biker. I haven't quit. I haven't walked away from it. I'm still a member. I've moved house in April, and it's 35 miles to the lockup. So for me to just jump and do a few hours here and there it's not really feasible anymore. There is a lockup nearer to me, but he has got a big RT in there, so I just need to pull up my big girl pants and go and just do it. So it's been, well, you know what it's like when you move house. It takes 3-4 months to settle and unpack everything and just get your head straight. So I'm now at a place where I've got capacity again. So after the tours, after Nordkapp, and we're going to Slovenia. It's not a tour, it's a holiday, but in September, I'm going to get back on it. And winter times are when they need more riders anyway, because everybody's willing to ride in the summer. And then you have fewer riders willing to go out in 3 degrees and sleep.
Fewer lunatics.
Okay, yes, you're right.
I like riding in the winter. I think it's that. Well, not everybody's doing it, so I'm going to do it. It's that thing, I think.
I like it.
Yeah.
You get more of the road to yourself.
Yeah, true. Yeah, absolutely. Right, there's one more on Insta. Photour biking. Hi, Bruce and Maja. In the past, I've organised multi-day tours for a few mates. I've always fancied running touring trips, but taking paying customers away is a little daunting. What advice would Maja give to get started, and how could I find paying guests?
Yeah, just start it. Just go for it. Plan a route, put the dates together, and push it out there and see what happens. It's as easy as that. Work out what your minimum number of riders is to make it worth the ride, so you get paid. Anything above that is extra. It's a nice little bonus. For me, it was social media that I got the people through. I didn't really do any. I've done no advertising at all. Well, if you've done it for your mates, it's the same. Yeah. The only difference is you're going to get people you haven't met before, and you're going to make new friends. Yeah. And it's as simple as that.
And dealing with that dynamic of riding with people you don't know, and you don't know their riding experience, their riding styles, all that sort of stuff. Because you always get, like with my chicken strips, I market my chicken strips as it's not a normal touring company. It's not a normal tour. It's at the faster end of the spectrum, not lunatic or anything like that, but it's not. We're not sightseeing. You're out on the road, you're enjoying the road, and everyone's making a bit of progress, and we're having fun. And I still get the odd person that goes, yeah, I'm up for that. And then when they come away, they're like, they're well out their comfort zone, and they want a day off the bike, and it's like, well, that was never marketed like that. So it's dealing with the public, isn't it?
It is, and it's being clear. And so, how I do it, I get an inquiry. I'll arrange a phone call with that person, and I will tell them exactly what will happen, as in what to expect. If you are not confident rider, great. Well, thanks for telling me that straight away. You'll be right behind me, because we're going to be going at your speed. Right, yeah. The slowest person is behind me. I match my speed to the group. Yeah. Now, I am not precious about people overtaking me. I share routes in advance. This is where we're going. This is where we're staying. So if you fancy going a bit faster, go for it. I'm not upset about it. I'm not, worried. You go for it. And meet us at the junction or meet us at the end. As long as I know that that's your plan, or you're going to peel off and do your own thing for a bit and join us again. As long as I know that before we set off, so I don't have to turn the whole group around and find you because I think you're missing and you've fallen off. Yep. That's absolutely fine. So it's not happened yet. I've had a few that wanted to go faster, and I would say, right, well, this road is really fun, obviously. Can't guarantee that you won't get caught if you go speeding, or if you want to go quicker than we are, meet us at the end. And a few guys have gone for it, and they love the fact that they could do that and not be stuck in the back of the group, kind of thing. Yeah. But On a phone call, I will go through all that and I will explain how I run the tours. And like you, it's not about sightseeing. It's about covering the miles. It's about having fun. It's about going down some challenging roads that maybe you haven't been before, or are you comfortable? So the way I design my routes is the first day's fairly steady and nothing too challenging, just getting to know each other, riding styles. And then, for example, when you go to mid-Wales, you can have a bit of fun. And, the Devil's Staircase, it's not for unexperienced riders. And they could all say on a phone, oh, yeah, I'm super experienced. I've done this and I've done that. And I can clearly see they're not that good. So, no, I'm not risking taking you up that road. So I will have plan B.
Oh, okay.
And I always say that on a phone. Look, this is the routes that I've planned, but they are not set in stone. We can change it. And we might have to change it if one of the riders isn't up for those roads. And we might have to change it if, for example, if I'll see the weather is coming in from the coast and I plan the coastal route, well, let's not go there. We'll go inland and then do the coastal road next day. So it's fluid, right? But if you know where you are, you know the routes, you know what you're doing in terms of, how many miles you can cover in a day. Can we change the route? Will that still get us to the hotel for 5 o'clock, or we got to turn up at 9 at night? Yeah. All these little things are, I think, important because you can then tailor it to the group on the day. And as long as you communicate it all clearly, so you're not going to have anybody. But the route said we're going left and he turned right. Then nobody's going to do that if we tell them up front why that's happened.
Yeah, definitely. Something I was thinking about when you were talking was tax. If you're doing this for a business, you're going to have to be paying tax on your income. And that's something which I didn't factor in on my first sort of fair few tours as a business, where I just worked out, what profit I needed to make, and then forgot about the tax side of things. So then once you take your tax off of it, it's like, oh, that can have quite an impact on your income. So make sure you bear that in mind in your calculations when you're figuring out how much you need to earn.
Absolutely.
Exactly what you just said there, Maja. Like, if you're already doing tours with your mates, and if your mates are really enjoying the tours, and most importantly, you are enjoying doing the tours, then, just start marketing that for random people, for random punters, and see how you go. Have you had anyone crash on any of yours yet? Like big crashes?
No. I nearly had me taken out by a old driver that wouldn't look and went for an overtake while I was next to him. And then another girl from the group was right behind me, and we were both on, beeping and going. And he just, like a child, if I don't look, you can't see me, you're not there.
Yeah.
So that was a close one. And I had a guy cracked a couple of ribs because he dropped his bike in a car park and landed on his elbow and cracked ribs. And what a superstar. He had his wife in the pillion on a big GS, and he rode for the next 3 days without complaining, and he was in agony, bless him.
Oh, it's fair play. Yeah, I had a friend of mine crash in Portugal, and he was bad. He shouldn't have survived. It was a big crash. Yeah, he ended up in hospital for a long time, and that was a bit of an eye opener. That put me off doing, because I was just doing tours for mates really at that point. I did 1 or 2 a year for punters, but it made me think: do I want this responsibility? So it was bad enough. It was like bad enough putting a phone call into his missus when I knew her. Whereas if that's a random punter, I was just like, this could have been a totally different phone call. It should have been a totally different phone call, but somehow he survived. And it really did make me question whether I wanted to do that anymore. And then COVID happened, and I didn't tour for a year or two. And all of a sudden that sort of fever to tour comes back, doesn't it? So I'm back doing it again now, but it's definitely in the back of my mind. If it's a big responsibility, isn't it? It is a big responsibility to have. It is.
But it's, live your life, right? It's something
Absolutely.
you're doing. You're not going to be stopped by the thought of that somebody might crash on your tour.
True.
That's just something you take in and deal with it when it happens, if it happens.
And as you said, sorry to interrupt, apologies, Maja, but you said something about being just open and honest with people and upfront with people, and you have to address that, don't you? Like, I need next to kin info, and you need to make sure you've got insurances in place, blah 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 blah.
So, I mean, that's like step one, right?
Yeah.
We'll have a phone call. You want to come? Great. Well, that's the deposit, and you have to pay that much, and you have to fill in this form, and the form will have information in case of emergency. And I, the reason for a phone call is that, have you been to Wales before, for example? Yes. Okay. Where did you ride? I went down A470. Is that it? Okay, great. Well, that's easy job for me because everywhere I'll take you will be different. Yeah. But then I'll have I've got repeat customers, and I went, wait a minute, you've already been on this tour. Now I have to come up with new roads. What? But that's how I do it. I never have. The tours are not just off the shelf. It's never the same route because we're all different. And so I will tailor it to the group as much as I can.
Yeah, nice one. There's two more just comments on Instagram. One's MotorMogul5. He says, excellent. And the next one, helmet inspection, Martin. He says, the lovely Maja.
Cheers, Martin.
And what else did we have? Last one was Facebook. I'm not sure if there was questions there or just people saying they were looking forward to it. Yeah, Hippo Drones, he just says, awesome stuff, looking forward to it. And he's asking when the YouTube version of it will be out. The video always comes out the week after the podcast. So the podcast will come out on Wednesday, and then the video version comes out the following Monday. But it'll be on my socials, and obviously I'll tag you in it as well, Maja.
Brilliant. So that's before I go away then. That's good.
Yes, it is. Who else we got? Tony Porter, you get all the best jobs, Bruce. Keith Williams, me and Maja started with blood bikes at the same time. And that is us. We've gone through all the questions. You survived.
I have. Have we broken the record yet? No.
Not quite. We're not far off. I think the record was 3.5 hours, actually. Wow. It was the longest one so far. But
you'll have to fix it out then, surely.
I'm game if you are. How were you happy enough with that? Enjoyed it?
I really did, yeah. I mean, just been great chatting to you.
Brilliant.
It was, I think, looking back, we were on the same day at California Superbike School last year.
Were we?
You were doing level 1 or 2, and I was doing either 3 or 4.
Right.
Well, so we were never together there, but we started talking, and then everything kind of, you go back to, well, when did I start following you? And I'm like, I'm sure you were there. And then when I met Jane from California Superbike, she was like, yeah, that was him.
Oh, was that at Cadwell, did you say?
Yes.
Yeah, that would have been my level 2. That would have been, yeah.
It was a level 2, yeah. So I can't either 3 or 4 at the time. I can't remember. Yeah.
It's good, isn't it? I don't know about you, but I went back, I've just done 3 and 4 a couple of months ago, both at Cadwell. I did level 3 and thought, nailed this, sorted. And then went to level 4, and level 4 was like, I can't ride. Because they really take your riding apart, don't they? And I was like, I can't ride a bloody bike.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah,
I've learned so much, and my road riding have improved an awful lot after that.
Yeah.
Cool. Just when you got it, right? When you're a good rider, because when you go from there's a corner coming and it's quite tight, and I can do this, to that's a sharp corner.
Wonder how quick I can get around this one.
Yeah. When that happened, I was like, now I got
it. Nice one. Right, before we go, I'll throw the floor open to you. Please plug anything, shout out to anyone, any companies, whatever you need to do. You've got sponsors. Over to you.
Right, okay. Well, I think a big thank you to Frank at Superbike News, who originally sort of started asking me if I want to do some reviews and sending me kit and getting me into the writing sphere, and Miko from Motorcycle Sport and Leisure. I've been writing for the magazine for a couple of years now, on and off. It's freelance, isn't it? But he was kind of the first to give me a platform where people started hearing about me and learning what I do, which has been fantastic. Lara Moto, super girl.
She's good, isn't she?
She's a superstar and such a great supporter of everything we bikers do, and especially for women as well.
Yeah.
She's got a heart of gold, that girl.
Lives and breathes bikes, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's a superstar. I mean, there are, for mentioning the brands, for going to Nordkapp, thanks to Aprilia for lending me the bike. Biker Heads have kitted me out with Rucker and Schubert and Daytona, and I've got SW Motec for luggage. So, super appreciative of that, because it helps a lot. And I mean, I've got to mention my other half, because he's such a cool guy. He is so okay with everything I do. He's the grounded guy, and I'm the floaty about person. All I get occasionally is a roll of the eyes and, what are you on now? And then he totally supports what I do. So,
brilliant.
I could have, I could have done it on my own. It would have been harder, but having him at my side, it makes us a team. It really makes a big difference. So I've got to give him a big shout out for that.
Fantastic. Good on you.
Thank you for having me on your podcast.
No, pleasure. Thank you very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure to chat with you.
Yeah. And do come to Wales. I'll organise sunshine. And
Right, I'm there. If you organise the sunshine, I'm there, because that's a rare occurrence.
Fantastic. Let's do that then.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. Do a vid or something.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. And,
no worries. Enjoy Nordkapp when it comes. Folks, make sure you check out all Maja's links. I'll leave them all down below. So if you're listening to the podcast, look at the show notes. If you're watching the vid, have a look at the description there. Make sure you check out our website for the tours. Make sure you check out the social media. Give her a like, a follow, subscribe, all of the rest of it, and help spread the word. Right. All that's left to say is, Maja, thank you very much for your company this evening. Folks, keep doing your thing. Keep looking after those that you love. Get on out there whenever you can. But most importantly, live your life. Woo-ha!
Absolutely.
Mega.